fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top here!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome back, one, and welcome back all to SimSpeed TV. And, well, we got ourselves underway last night for this, the 11th round of the 2022 Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS season, with our first night of support racing action here with the flat sixes and the V8s. We turn our attention to the third of our support categories present this weekend, the first mini endurance event of the support series schedule for this year. It's a time for the 2-liter tourers to take center stage in their race for this weekend here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, though you might as well better know it as Imola. My name is Danny Amon, Jay Kennedy alongside me on production and commentary for this one tonight. And as we take a quick look here at the digital recreation of the memorial to the late, the great Ayrton Senna. Jay, it's, well, stage set more or less now for an exciting race, the first of our endurance rounds for the support categories. 250 kilometers of solo driver action here for the 2-liter tourers tonight. And, well, plenty of strategy and competition to see us through this one this evening, if the sprint racing we've seen so far is anything to go by this year.
Yeah, Imola always provides a great show, so we're going to be in for a fantastic race coming up. Hello, everybody. This track just breeds fantastic racing. It doesn't matter what car you put on, whether it's a Formula car, whether it's a GT, whether it's a TCR, whether it's a V8, it's always going to be good racing. Lots of passing opportunities. And one thing that Reese and I have said for years, we've said it ever since we started commentating together, you know a track's good when almost every corner is known by a name, not a number. So this track proves it once again. Famous names for each and every corner out there. The kinks have got turn numbers, but nobody really worries about the kinks. But main passing opportunities obviously up into turn 2, 3, 4. at Tamburello. Villeneuve chicane always going to be interesting for passing as well. Tosa hairpin as well. And then into the final couple of corners at Ravatza as well. All very, very tough for overtaking, but interesting for overtaking as well.
That they are indeed. Will require maximum commitment and a little bit of cooperation for good measure to make your moves stick around here tonight. And, well, not much long till we get to actually see that racing in action, as qualifying has been underway for some time. But before we get to said qualifying action, let's have a look at how the championship stands here in the 2 Litre Tours coming into tonight's race. Phillip Island, of course, we saw them last time out as part of the SCOPS calendar and events, and well, that was the 5th round at the 2 Litre Tours. 10 races so far for them this season, and well, only another 11 races to go here in this one. Actually, pardon me, not 11. I can't count. 9 races to go. With this one here starting things off tonight. So into the back half of this season already, but the championship standings are as follows, with Matthew Pluck currently out on top in the number 51 machine for Kiwi Sim Racing. Unfortunately, his nearest rival, Reece Gardner, in the number 94 Fusion Sim Racing, will not be present this evening, usually here in the commentary booth, although, as you can obviously see, committed to this series for the most part, although things have plans elsewhere mean that we won't be seeing that 94 out on track tonight. Carl Sampson, who's been incredibly quick for the most part this season, back there in 3rd place, 174 points behind your championship leader of Pluck at this stage. And then 4th place actually going to Isaac Edwards there, who, well, despite not having necessarily the greatest of pace and results so far this season, Jay, consistency showing up strong for him there, solidly in the top of the points order at the moment, and 5th place there behind him. Liam Jordan, a fair ways back, unlikely to be able to apply much pressure, even though there's up 450 points up for grabs for tonight's winner.
Yeah, the V8SCOPS series, both series proper and the supports, running the same point system, but one thing it does reward is consistency in finishing races. And, well, as you say, Isaac, and he'll be the first to admit he doesn't quite have the pace of the guys at the front. What he does do is he sticks it out and finishes every race. So that's why he's found himself in P4 in the championship. But yeah, Pluck versus Sampson tonight for the championship fight. Obviously, as you said, Reece Gardner not here. He's disappointed to not be with us tonight. He was trying to work out whether he could make it tonight earlier in the week, last week, when we were organising rosters and things like that. So he's a bit disappointed he's not here. But some brilliant fighting that we're going to see in this race tonight. Not necessarily based off the championship, but qualifying is underway at this present stage. And we have a fairly close battle in that group. Mulqueen, again, one of the fastest out on track. But from there, you go back to Dylan Jordan in 2nd. But from 3rd on back, it's very, very tight as Ben Doty just moves up into 7th. But from Timothy Harris, Ewan Baker, Carl Sampson, they're all separated by just over a 10th. So it's very, very tight in that 3rd to 5th bracket. And then from 7th on back, it's very, very tight too.
That it is indeed, and well, certainly does sort of suggest what we might see later on. Well, I mean, only in 5 minutes' time and change with the race. Certainly will be a good proposition for the mid-pack battles that we will hopefully see as the night goes on. Checking in here with number 27 of Carl Sampson, currently back in P5, a little bit off his qualifying order that I would usually suggest he's in, but 3 personal best sectors at the start of the lap here, Jay, as he comes down the front straight and through the final couple of kinks past the old, where the very under-Basel chicane used to live, and indeed does improve to 155.054, moves himself up a couple of spots to P3 there. We're looking to try and close down the margin a little bit more, though, still to Dylan Jordan, his teammate, and Damon Mulqueen, current pole man. One of our other drivers who's been, for the most part, generally quick. Thomas Hinz in the 52 for Team Jinx Shifters brings his Honda Civic round Ravatza 1 and Ravatza 2 to run here onto the straight, and trying to use as much of the curb as possible, of course. Front-wheel drive cars will understeer on the power, as you'd expect a bit, Jay, but you try and improve here on a 156.4, I think that was, before it changed over. Unfortunately, no. His current best of 155.779, so he'll need to find something more than that 55.8 he just put down on the board.
Dylan Jordan's on a pretty decent lap at the moment. So is Matthew Pluck too, so we'll go to him in a minute. But Jordan currently sitting P2 as Ben Doherty goes up into 6th. That is a new personal best for Dylan Jordan. No, it doesn't count, but it would have been enough to stay in 2nd. And it would have only been 700ths away from Mulqueen's time. So while it doesn't count officially, it's a nice little reminder that he's not far away. He can put that lap together if the planets align, and he can maintain it within the track limits. Track limits are going to be something we're going to talk about tonight and tomorrow when we get into the 500-kilometer V8SCOPS Imola 500. It's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to see a lot of penalties for exceeding track limits. We're going to see a lot of drivers frustrated with that too.
Yeah, it will be a bit of a handful, I think. And in fact, quite interestingly to see that tonight for the 2-litre Tourers hit 20x incident limit for a 250k race, which for those who haven't quite done the math here so far, Pluck 155.084 in the meantime. That is an improvement, but 2P4 on the tail of teammate Carl Sampson though. So KSR lining up in behind Damon Mulqueen, but Mulqueen's still pedaling around out there, and he's still got time to do at least 2 more flying laps. Does Mulqueen? He's on his 11th in the session so far. As Northway again, one of the small armada that Kiwi Sim Racing has brought to the series this year. In the number
I think they've got 130 drivers in the race tonight. Feels like every car we've gone to is KSR. On the incident limit too, you were saying about it being a 20 incident limit, 20 incident point limit. Last night in our Porsche Cup races, we saw drivers getting very, very close, and also in the V8s in only 13 lap races. Tonight, we're doing 51 laps, and they've got the same incident limit. So we could see some hearts be broken tonight with the exceeding of incident limits. So keep an eye on that as we get further into the race.
Yeah, I think, look, part of it will be that was a bit of a mentality thing for the guys in those shorter sprint races. They'll certainly have been pushing the limits, knowing that, well, if they can get themselves close to the limit, therefore they're maximising their pace. I think, though, it will be potentially a bit of a challenge indeed. 51 laps run here with the revised off-track limits being quite aggressive in terms of how much you can push the limits around here in many of these places. That being not much, and especially things like here for Damon Mulqueen, the apex curbs of the very Ante-Alta chicane that he's just gone through are incredibly inviting, but very easy to pick up not only just an off-track, but a slowdown to boot, which completely kills the run down here through the Ravazza corners. All of that adds up, and with only 20 to play with, you're looking at less than 1 every 2 laps. You probably still want to be at about 1 every 3 to 4 laps to give yourself some margin in case elbows get out at early on or late on in the racing tonight. But final minute of qualifying has begun. Unlike the support racing that we saw last night, Jay, drivers will get the chance to complete the lap they're on if they come across the line before the checkered flag flies. So it isn't the hard cut we saw previous night of racing. So that will be important to note here, as Thomas Hinz is going to be one of the next couple of drivers across the line here in the 52 Jinx Shifters Honda. 155.6. That's
the PB. The PB, but Northway went quicker just ahead of him. We just saw her on the brakes there.
Indeed, the 46 of Robert Northway displacing Hinz to the back of the top 10. As time's ticking down, Ben Doherty here in the 313 Civic TCR. I think he might just be, looking at where he's on track, the last car that will get to the line, but it's going to be very close here because the line's up ahead. Is the 99 Frog Leap Racing car even going to make it? I don't think so. No, I believe those are the first 2 cars across the line. So Doherty there, unfortunately, that lap that he was on ends up not being representative, but he is P7 provisionally, as Ray Oliver in the 99 Frog Leap Juiced Racing entry. I'm just seeing him there. He's not slowing down though. He might have just snuck through in time, but looks at the next car across the line, who's currently out there, is going to be Brett Loxton, 209, currently in P11, so shadowing Hinz, his teammate at this stage. We're down into Ravazza 1 and 2. Be careful there not to push the limits too much through that middle part between the two corners, as that can be an easy off track there, but he's committed. Is Loxton. Hasn't set a fast time in a couple of laps, hoping this might be the one. Unfortunately, not quite. 56.057 does not improve on his current best at that 55.803. So Brett's session is done. The next car it's going to be across the line is actually going to be Thomas Hinds, who's coming down into Ravatsa 1 and 2.
He's out well and truly off the pace is Hinds, so this lap from him won't be an improvement. Faulkner looks like he's a little bit off the pace on his lap. Ray Oliver,
like it.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to improve looking at the times. So I think everyone's gone out of the throttle and decided they might be done for the session.
Yeah, it might just be the case. These cars they can be susceptible to tire temperature buildup and not so much wearing, but certainly overheating of the front tires, given you're putting all of the rotation or the turning requirements and the driving. A little bit of a blip there for Ray Oliver. Still got a minute left in the session for drivers to complete their laps, but Oliver is taking his car to the pit lane, and that Race on Oz Hyundai behind of Ben Faulkner. Well, we saw him in the grass coming up to Variante Alta. So what that means is we can take you through the grid here for this race tonight. 17 cars are here to see what they can do for this one this evening. And your order is as follows. Damon Mulqueen has the pole position to the inside of the front row. Dylan Jordan will be sharing that row alongside him, about 3/10 back there in the 21 machine. But heading up, 3 Kiwi sim racing cars that will be looking to keep all sorts of pressure on the 42 of Mulqueen, with Carl Sampson and Matthew Pluck sharing that second row together there. And then next to our cars is a different team for a change. Timothy Harris in the 093 will be there starting at a P5, but again KSR continues their presence at the front of the field with Ewan Baker at a P6 in the 34 to start this race there. P7 to Ben Doherty in the 313 with Ben Faulkner in the 042 alongside him on the road. On the fourth row tonight, Robert Northway and Thomas Hinds sharing row 5. Brett Loxton and Ray Oliver off of row number 6. And then Hayden Kirk, Chris Fogarty, Dyson Freeman, Isaac Edwards and Mark Noble to round out your 17 cars to take the grid for this race. One other thing that we haven't talked about at this one so far, or just yet, Jay, is that there are compulsory pit stop rules for these supports endurance races. 2 stops required, 2 tyres minimum per stop as well for good measure, which will certainly mean stopping and replacing the front tyres on these cars, given the work they and the loads they get put through when racing them here. Well, not just here, but anywhere on the iRacing service as we wait for the grid timer to count its way down to 0.
Yeah, pit stop's going to be interesting. I mean, we've seen pit stops in some of the longer races in this series, but the fact that there's 2 pit stops required and the fuel won't make it for the entirety as well. So there's going to be a little bit of strategy play in when you make those pit stops. Both have to be done before the end of lap 48, which I don't think anyone will be trying to push the front tyres extra hard to make it to that point. So we're probably going to see a majority to pit around about lap 15-ish, between lap 15 and 20, and then probably between lap 35 and 40 at the end of the race. So this is going to be interesting to understand. But the curveball to that is something we possibly will see. Safety car. If we see a safety car, which we have seen in the support series before, we've seen in this series before, that could provide the big curveball around strategy. Who's already made their stops and then gets caught out, who doesn't make a stop when everyone else had and got caught out. Interesting curveball that we could have later on as the revs start to rise. We're about to go green.
That we are indeed. The first of our 250-kilometre races for the Logitech G V8SCOPS Supports in 2022 is underway here at Imola for the 2-litre Tourers, and Mulqueen off the front row gets a good start, but it's going to be Timothy Harris, with the lightning start, but takes to the grass to try and get a spot, and it's caused carnage immediately. The KSR cars have almost all been wiped out from the front of the field as a result. Faulkner put into the fence as well, and oh man, opportunistic attack from Harris has come undone, and several cars stranded to the inside, well, actually the outside, I should say, at the front stretch as the rest of the field powers on through as they come down to the Villeneuve chicane for the first time. And it's going to be the Honda TCR and Audi. Hayden Kirk and Dyson Freeman going side by side through there, with Ray Oliver looking for a way through as a result of that little checkup that's been caused by those two parking up alongside each other. As on board we go with Oliver for a moment there. Nice run up the inside of the Tosa hairpin, and Harris still trying to consider getting that car back to the pits, and he will get going here at the moment.
Good news is no mechanical black flags for anyone, so it looks like everyone is at least going to be able to continue on in the race, although be a little bit damaged. The heartbreaking thing for those guys that were involved in that, pit window for those two compulsory pit stops does not open until the end of the second lap, so they've got to go and circulate one more lap before they can come in and use one of those stops for a compulsory pit stop.
Yes, indeed, that is important to note there. Can't come down the lane at the end of this time by to fix things up, although that may change things for a couple of drivers. Take a very early pit stop, as we're given the way these cars behave. You'd think probably the evening stints tonight, probably the easiest play in the book, but we'll have to wait to see how drivers opt to make those strategy calls, because if you can get the undercut to work, that is quite powerful. But at the same time, cold tyres these cars when they come out of the pits. Well, lap one done, things seem to be somewhat calm, so we're going to try and dissect that and digest all of that on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School here. So off the start, decent from Mulqueen, but indeed it was Timothy Harris, just absolutely ballistic launch out of P5, gets up alongside, I believe that would have been unfortunately a bit high from 27. Sampson it is, yeah, Carl Sampson, the first car he gets alongside, but doesn't get given the space to the inside there, and as a result, contact with him. On board with Matthew Pluck, the second car that got actually no, pardon me, Matthew Pluck gets through all this because it's the other Kiwi sim racing car that gets across, and Ewan Baker, the 34 there, gets tripped up, and I believe it might have been Dylan Jordan in the 21 that got clips there as well. Actually, that would check out. In fact, I can verify that for you by quickly going back to the grid results, and indeed Dylan Jordan was on the front row and got things a bit unstuck there as we just check out live pitches once again, and towards the back of the group here, it's Chris Fogarty, Isaac Edwards and Mark Noble. Edwards having to fend off, pardon me, no, that was Edwards going up the inside of Noble for E13 in the race there, who's, and also Noble's dropped back and behind, also lost a spot to Fogarty earlier on in the lap, but looking to try and apply some more pressure here up into the Variante Alta, but close and unable to make something stick there. A little aggressive over the first apex curb. Looks to have gotten away with that one. Maybe a slowdown for his troubles at this time here on lap 2. So, pit window is open here for anyone who needs to take repairs. Do we have any takers at this opening phase of the race? Slowdown for Robert Northway up ahead though in the 46 Hyundai. And he's now dropping a couple of spots here down the front stretch.
We saw last night drivers that got slowed down through Rivart, so they were trying not to use the front straight as their point to slow down, and you can see how painful it is early on in the race to get those slowdowns. He's still having to slow up coming into turn 2, 3, 4, and he's lost what 1, 2, 3, 4 spots from memory, and Ray Oliver now right there as well, so starting to close it up. But at front of the field, Matthew Pluck doing a really good job closing that gap down. Mulqueen had stretched it out to about 1 3/4 seconds early on lap 1, but already started to close that gap down as Pluck. And Ewan Baker also is closing down. He's the fastest car out on track in the moment in P3. He's doing a very, very good job of closing down to Pluck and Mulqueen. So this is not over despite this huge gap at the front. We're going to see a lot of chopping and changing in this lead group. Mulqueen and Pluck, maybe they're just playing it safe and saving tyres, saving fuel, being a little bit more conservative. And the rest of the guys pushing a little bit too hard too early. It's going to be interesting to see.
It might just be the case indeed, as it's the front tyres that will be most important tonight. If you can look after them a little bit. That will reward you if you're looking to go a little bit longer on the tyres, and depending on how you've got your car configured as well, that might play a part in this race. And Baker certainly trying to keep his foot down on it, although Dylan Jordan on this particular lap has really started to put some pace in. 2 fastest sectors of the entire race. Carl Stampson has the 3rd of the purple sectors from this lap. He's currently up behind Mark Noble, trying to get back into 14th place. A long way off where he'd like to be, and 20 seconds off the race leader. A good measure. Pretty strong run off of Rivart to 2 there compared to Noble, and already pulling alongside, but it's actually drawing Ben Faulkner into them both here. The slipstream, well, interesting there.
Is
not getting the
Sampson
move
out of the
done.
throttle, or was he just... I think we can tell why.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, unfortunately,
that front
is
arrow
quite
is not
telling.
great. Oof. Yeah, so no pace from Sampson, just with that lack of front aero. And the most not surprising penalty in V8SCOPS history has just been issued. That is to Timothy Harris for exceeding track limits, causing an incident on lap 1. Because while it's a-okay to try and make an overtake through turn 1, can't really drive on the grass and then come back on the track and cause an incident. It does usually end in tears.
It usually does. We'll see George Russell 2020 as well for a good...
Too soon.
Too soon? Oof, okay, well...
Never too soon.
Apologies to the George fans in the audience tonight as we continue to watch some of the scrapping up and down the field. As one of those pairings is Robert Northway and Ray Oliver here, fighting over 8th on the road as they try and keep touch with the HJR pairing of Thomas Hinds and Brett Loxton up ahead. You see here a lot of steering lock, of course, with these cars trying to really put the foot in it early. Means that you've got to keep a lot of steering in it at the same time. But we'll come back to that group later, because indeed it is on for the lead inside 4/10, I should say, for a moment there. Although better initial drive from Mulqueen off the corner, but then the slipstream kicks in these cars. They do punch a decent hole in the air, and 350 horsepower to your name. Slipstream is pretty handy. As a result, picks up a 10th, does Matthew Pluck down the front stretch towards Tamburello, looks to the inside, but needs another 2/10 to be ahead. So not quite there this time by, but certainly now going to put Mulqueen on notice, you'd think, as they make their way around the first couple of turns. And on that last lap alone, there, Jay pulled over 4/10 on your race leader did. Matthew Pluck, as we see a little bit of back and forth between Dyson Freeman, Hayden Kirk and Chris Fogarty, all scrapping over 10th place on the road at the moment. As actually, while we've been talking about scrapping and pace here, there you go, change for the lead. Pluck gets through on Mulqueen by the exit of Tosa, though up the inside at Villeneuve, or under brakes at Tosa itself. And now, see what the 51 can do here with clean air to his name, as clearly they've got something figured out for this race trim. At least if we check out the replay, and indeed, it looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward dive up the inside at Tosa here, Jay. Mulqueen not looking to contest that one too hard at this stage of the race.
Bounced over the curbs a little bit through Villeneuve and just didn't have the momentum up into Tosa. Move done, pretty straightforward, and Mulqueen didn't even attempt to fight it. He knew he just didn't quite have the pace. But have a look at that gap, 2nd to 3rd, or even Baker to the lead. It was 3.5 seconds not that long ago. It's now 2.7, so obviously the side-by-sides helped. But Baker's pace, he's still very, very good. He's consistently been the fastest other than the first lap. And the only reason he's got that gap is because he had to check up for those guys spinning in front of him.
He actually got tapped, if I'm not mistaken, on the...
He got a little tap. Remember, we did the onboard with him earlier.
Right, yes, okay. It was actually one of his... I could have sworn this 34 Honda actually took a pretty decent whack trying to get through the melee, but in the same time, that doesn't quite add up in terms of where he's on track, though. Dylan Jordan, who got quite substantially hit, is already back to P5 and has the fastest lap of the race to his name at the end of lap 5. He did, and he's still the fastest driver on track to the tune of at least 2/10. As we just see here, Ray Oliver's just gotten past Northway down the front straight there for P8, but Northway, nice, more conventional line through the second half of Tamburello. Looks back to the inside at Villeneuve. Close, but not quite. Oliver able to outbrake him around the outside and carry the speed through for now, at least, as they head up to Tosa. I think they want to try and focus on making sure they go and catch Loxton and Hins at this point. Don't get too caught up fighting each other, fellas. Yes, it's a long race, but you don't want to put yourself in a bit of a handicap spot where you have to then overcome later on when time is starting to run out.
So some of those guys that are a bit further back with a little bit of damage will be starting to calculate the strategy and trying to work it out. I mean, Carl Sampson's probably the number one that needs to think about what to do and how to do it, because his car does not look like it's got any pace in it at all. He's struggling to make the car grip at the front. So he'll be trying to work out when he comes in. But the issue he's got too is, sure, not only when he comes in, but how he then gets himself back in the race. How much damage does he try and fix in the pit stop? He'll be hoping and praying for a safety car so he can come in and fix almost all of that damage.
I think that might just be the plan, because you'd think, yeah, for a driver of his pace, Carl's still setting personal best sectors, I might add, but unfortunately his personal best time is a 156.8, as Ray Oliver on the Virtual Racing School replay gets all kinds of crisscrossed on the way up into the Variante Alta, and that allows Robert Northway back through into 8th place there. But it seems somewhat temporary with the way Oliver's looking for a spot here. Tries for the inside to Tamborelli, but it's covered off by Northway, who then moves the car just over enough to deny the space for Oliver to turn it in from the outside. So they will go back and forth, and looks like they're going to not worry too much about losing ground to the guys ahead. They're about 3 seconds off of Brett Loxton. But they're content to scrap between the pair of them for now, as that was a lot of anti-cut curb there at the Villeneuve chicane from Northway. Looks to not have hurt his car too much, but Oliver sees the door open and at least tries to threaten a pass, but no dice this time by. Yeah, just getting back to Carl Sampson real quick. Actually, just has done a 156.0, which actually puts him 4/10 off of the race leader. So I think he is, the only problem for Carl is he is now a long way back off the lead. He did drop a lot of time in the previous couple of laps, and has, I think now he's found where he's in a happy medium, because he's got a lot of slipstream, so probably assist a bit in hanging on in the straight line. It's Isaac Edwards and Ben Faulkner directly ahead. Isaac Edwards ahead of him there, and we know Faulkner's a quick driver in these cars as well. Edwards actually a bit of a cork in the bottle, it would seem, for this trio, and allowing the next 3 cars of Sampson's teammates, Freeman in the 26 Audi, then Aidan Kirk in the 371 Honda, and Chris Fogarty in the 404 Hyundai Elantra. We'll wind up there. KSR certainly doing manufacturer diversity a bit of a favour amongst those 3 at least here tonight.
Interesting looking at, so I can see the incident points that drivers have accrued throughout this race so far, and know that 8 laps in, we've already got 1 driver on 7, a couple of drivers on 5, only 1 driver in the entire field yet to rack up an incident point. So incidents are going to be interesting for drivers when we get to the end. Sorry, 2 drivers that haven't racked up an incident point yet. So yeah, incidents going to be very, very interesting when we get into the final stages of the race. How far can you push? How many do you have in reserve to potentially try and make a move? Ray Oliver's trying to make a move. I don't think he's going to be close enough, but starting to play around with the mirror of Robert Northway as Ray Oliver. The issue that he's having is that these 2 were not far behind Brett Loxton not that long ago. They've absolutely been dumped by him. And those guys behind Freeman, Kirk, Fogarty, while they're in a battle pack, they're not fighting. So they're almost all working together, which is meaning that that group is starting to close that down as Isaac Edwards runs wide, Ben Faulkner goes through, and now side by side with Carl Sampson.
Sampson's going to try and get as much slipstream up the hill from Faulkner he can get. He's alongside Edwards here, will surely commit to the inside at Piratella. Edwards tried to make that a bit of a narrow entry and comes off the worst for it. So unfortunately for the 15 of Edwards, he will slot down into 15th place, which actually is still a gain for him at the moment, as he's currently still in the group. Meanwhile, back to the front of the field, it's still somewhat on, but I think Damon Mulqueen happy to play rear gunner for now and see how things pan out. But it's allowing Ewan Bacon, Dylan Jordan to catch up. Meanwhile, that group, as I said, Chris Fogarty in the 404 Audi. Pardon me, Dyson Freeman, apologies. A little wide at the Acura Minerale complex. Allows Hayden Kirk through in the 371. A little change of position there as they headed up the hill back to your top two here, and it's close into Tamburello, but Mulqueen rolls out nice and gentle.
I think he's in fuel save mode.
Possibly fuel save, although it might just be, I mean, yeah, if you're saving a little bit of fuel, that is true. I think possibly more a general description of just tyre management and conservation rather than overworking the car in. Yeah, for those unfamiliar with these TCR class cars, you can refuel and change tyres at the pit stop simultaneously, which will be important for later on, given the 2 compulsory stops to change 2 tyres for this one here tonight. And it's about 50 odd litres you can get into the, about 45, 50 litres you can get into the car whilst doing those 2 tyre change. As we check out another replay here, this time Chris Fogarty looking up the inside of Dyson Freeman at Tamburello. Didn't make it work there, and as a result, Ben Faulkner cuts his way through and up the inside at the final corner of the complex there. That's just how...
Now he's losing a spot here to Sampson.
Loses a spot to Carl Sampson, indeed. So the shuffling is on as this group ebbs and flows, and these faster guys who well out of position and maybe a little bit damaged, or in the case of Sampson's car, very damaged. Trying to fix things up. That's up the inside from Faulkner into the first part of Acura Minerale. That did not work many times last night in the flat sixes and the V8s alike, and what it's done is it's completely balked the pair, him and Fogarty, and brought Sampson directly to the tail, on board with the 26 here in the Audi. But Freeman up the, probably not Freeman, the Freeman we're on board with is Faulkner up the inside, takes the place, and now Sampson going to surely try and set something up here to get a clean run out of down the hill into advances 1 and 2, and then set up for a move and try and stick with Faulkner, because he's got enough pace, it seems, to go with at the moment. But at the same time, Sampson struggling a little bit, but a second faster than Dyson Freeman on the last lap, so it'll be important for him. He needs to get on 3. Meanwhile, fight is on for P5. Thomas Hinds up the inside of Ben Doherty. Tamburello, he's been stalking that 313 for a couple of laps now. Reese is not here. Reese is usually
Jay.
here. Yeah, you're Jay. That's a good point to make. But hey, old habits die hard, apparently. And anyways, actually, it's a really bad habit to have. Normally be out there driving. We literally talked about this before the whole thing started tonight. Having a real good time with it, it seems.
If you're having these mental blanks already and we're only 9 laps in, this is going to be fun by the end of it.
Oh yeah, definitely going to need to be.
It's going to be interesting to see what things you come out with later on when the brain is fried after trying to understand pit stop strategies and everything as Sampson's up the inside. I'm looking forward to Bathurst now with you starting to make these little flubs. How are you going to be after 7 hours of commentary?
Probably very exhausting.
It's going to be a fun weekend, that one, though.
I have plenty of head scratching to do. Team organisation, bit of additional admin in the background to try and make things easier for broadcasty related things in particular. Apparently I have
You have no life. Don't worry. You have no life. It's just helping people is your life at the moment, and we love you for it.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a volunteer bandit, and like finding ways to spend my time, which is a lot of work initially. Or hopefully it translates into productive things for others later on down the track. We can worry about me later, though, because as you said, we've got some time to kill for this one here, and the racing on track is keeping us somewhat entertained. This time, Damon Mulqueen wants the inside for Tamburello, up alongside under brakes here with Matthew Pluck, and he's going to get there, but Pluck's going to hang it around the inside of turn 2. Sorry, it's turn 3, apologies. Turn 4, therefore, is a drag race. Mulqueen has the nose ahead, and look who comes to join the party. Ewan Baker and Dylan Jordan both having a look at this and saying, yes, I'll have some of this. Mulqueen finishes the job at the first part of the Villeneuve chicane there, as Pluck tried to hang it around the outside. And now Baker has well and truly arrived in the 34 Honda, and he's brought Dylan Jordan with him in the 21. So there we go. It's now a 4-car lead with a second 4-car battle for the lead, with a second covering the group. So these 2 guys here in Baker and Jordan were closing down gradually, as it seemed that Pluck after getting that lead, he seemed to back off a little bit in the past couple laps, and well, right there and then shows you how much of a momentum car the momentum class these cars are here with that little one stint.
Reminds me of a conversation we were having earlier, Dan, where people were trying to say potential jobs that they were looking for and couldn't get out paleontologist.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you remember that we couldn't say any of our words earlier. I'm wondering too, now that this battle is closed up, whether Mulqueen didn't make that move earlier because this was what he was worried about. Side by side, brings the group together. Rather than worrying about passing one car, he's got to worry about 3 cars in the group with him. So Mulqueen may have been considering that. But the top 4 are breaking away from everyone else. Regardless of the battling that's going on, they are still the 4th quickest cars out on track. Carl Sampson is the anomaly in the group, being well and truly out of position. Tim Harris is also putting in quick times after serving his drive-through penalty. But these 4 are they're not working together, but they're not hindering each other's pace as much as you may expect with how much these front 2 are fighting for sure.
Yeah, that does, particular out there does see the Mulqueen and Plux times finally go towards high 156, 1 low 57 territory, which we haven't seen really from them since they got going proper. But indeed, everyone else out there on track currently low 156s through to 157s. Whereas these guys have been, for the most part, lapping high 155s for this race. And it's telling. It's not a huge amount of time, but some of the numbers that have come from other drivers out there on track with a bit of fluctuation mean that they've been, as you said, breaking away quite steadily, all things considered. They finally lost a bit of time to Thomas Hinds and then Doherty behind, who did low 156's last lap. But
I think the fact they're still battling too is probably not going to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty evenly matched for pace. We saw an overtake not that long ago. Doherty's still thinking about coming back. So I think if they continue to not work together, not necessarily try and overtake each other, if they don't work together, they could find themselves well and truly off the pace. At the moment, it's 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds between 4th and 5th. We could see that out to 10 very, very quickly if they fight too much.
Yeah, it's a good point you make there that it might not be necessarily a case of Hinds and Doherty not fighting, but the way they drive being still unhelpful to each other. There's still somewhat of a grey area between full-on attack and defence and cooperative driving there. It seems at this point they might have just calmed it down a fraction as they come around.
I reckon you've ruined that by saying that.
Look, maybe I have. If I have, then well, there we go. We get more drama
action either
and
way.
more things to watch. As it's close this time once again between Pluck and Mulqueen. Pluck's looking. Nope, he rolls out just before he gets to the rear bumper there. Gets about as close as you'd want to get without actually making contact. Likewise, Hinds and Doherty, bit of air gap between the two of them as they come through Tamburello to start the 13th lap of this race. Here, checking on a little further back there, Faulkner got a little bit of damage there to the front right corner of his 042 Hyundai machine. He's forced the outside for the entry at Tamburello, but that's just sent Hayden Kirk all kinds of compromised on the entry. Faulkner looking for the over, and actually gets into the rear of Kirk, who comes across to cover off the inside before we get down to the Villeneuve chicane. So Kirk here, interestingly, really insistent on hanging on to P10 for now, unless that's a ploy to keep Carl Sampson in play, who's been hanging with Faulkner for the most part pretty happily, it seems. And in fact, Carl Sampson, the third fastest car on the track last time around. If this is Kirk trying to hold up Faulkner to make Sampson's life a little easier, I think it might not be so much to his and Sampson's advantage, but Faulkner Dens went up the inside through turn 9, the kink before Ackerman Raleigh, but wide on the exit.
Wide.
That's an off track, I'm pretty sure, to his name, but gets away without needing to serve a slowdown, at least. So minor success there as we check back in with the top 4 as they've just come onto the front straight once more. Ewan Baker here currently riding in 3rd, the lone Honda Civic Type R of the group, which is dominated by Hyundai Elantras, as we Look out the back to see Dylan Jordan still shadowing him here. Still, actually, in that time by was the fastest of the group, but only just Mulqueen near milliseconds, actually a mere hundredth of a second slower than Jordan in fourth. And it was Ewan Baker third fastest on the road. Actually, Matthew Pluck the slowest of the group, but we are talking about a difference of no more than 0.2, and not even that for good measure.
Gap between Hinz and Doherty's closed up again. It did stretch out to about half a second not that long ago, but it has closed back down. So
slow down for the 51 of Pluck.
Ooh,
Has happened.
Where would that be? Villeneuve?
I think that would be the Villeneuve chicane, given he's just cleared it now before the Piratella here at the top of the hill. So that would say to me, yeah, got a little bit unstuck, as we also see scrapping continuing. Hayden Kirk trying to put all kinds of pressure on Ben Faulkner, but Carl Sampson says had a bit of a rough lap. So Sampson's car really going back and forth, Reese, on pace. Like third fastest car last time around for lap 12, but on lap 13 he was back in the 156s. You know, just almost a second slower than what he'd done just a lap earlier on number 12. So a lot of back and forth for that car. And I think Sampson really, there is no consistency to the pace of that vehicle, as Ray Oliver and Robert Northway still going at it. These two guys scrapping pretty aggressively here. But Northway in particular might want to watch that incident count. He was 9 incident points a while ago, and probably on his way to double digits if he's not too careful. And no, I will not have the drink.
could turn it into a drinking game every time you do call me Reese, but it's all right. I've been called much worse. I'll take that as a compliment as opposed to anything negative. Dylan Jordan, interesting there. He probably had the momentum to make the move on Ewan Baker. He had a brilliant run out of Ravazza, had the run down the straight, but backed out of it at about the start line to make sure he didn't get any overlap at all. So I don't know if this is him helping Pluck at the front just by maintaining the distance at the back, or whether he's just playing some other strategy game, just content to sit there watching and waiting. He's not looking to make any move at all. But Ewan Baker probably a little bit fortunate. He didn't get the best run out of Ravazza. Jordan got a brilliant run, but no change of position. The odd one out in the group, obviously, you look at the liveries, you can tell. Obviously, Ewan Baker's is a little bit different in the colour scheme with the beautiful chrome silver fern on the side. But Mulqueen, the only one not part of the Kiwi Sim Racing group, although he is a Kiwi. So 4 New Zealand drivers in the top 4.
Well, the Scottish flag on the side of Baker's car
yeah,
would beg to
Baker
differ.
Technically is Scottish, but he does live in New Zealand.
That explains a lot for the whole KSR connection there. All right, fine. So it's 3 Kiwis by birth and 1 Kiwi by residence, and that's probably enough to count as. I've just seen Hayden Kirk a bit of a moment down at Acra Minerale. Carl Sampson finally get that place. Indeed, yeah, it was definitely a big wobble and loss. Someone who also picked up a slowdown up ahead was Ben Doherty in the 313, who had been tailing Thomas Hinz. That's a bit too wide.
Probably a bit wide.
Of Variante Alta. We'll see here real quick on board with the 313. More certain it's happened on the exit. Yeah, first part. A little aggressive on the second, but no, that's just...
It's way too wide.
The major understeer. Thanks to trying to put the foot down. But impressively there, he's just cleared it now. Doesn't seem to have lost all that much. He's 1.7 seconds behind, apparently, as Hayden Kirk is the first driver to the pit lane to take a scheduled stop. So there you go.
Pretty much 1/3 race distance too. I mean, 17 laps is 1/3. We're at lap 16, so 15 laps complete. Not far off 1/3 distance. Probably not a horrible time to come in and do it.
Oh, he missed his pit box.
Oh, no.
The car was sliding forward for such a long time. That is absolutely going to murder the stationary time, as he finally got the car engaged in reverse to get it back into his box. And for those unfamiliar with Oceanic Sim Racing events, such as Logitech G, V8SCOPS Supports here for 2022, the anti-stall driver assist is not available for these drivers, and I think that would explain why it took him a while to back it up, because I thought he was parked and fine, but the car never went up on the jacks, and then he finally got it going in reverse, and yeah, I think he's cost himself a good 4 or 5 seconds trying to get the car refired, because with no anti-stall clutch, car stalls out if you don't grab neutral or don't stick your foot in the clutch before it parks up, and you're going to get it refired. In his case, given he overshot. Now, we're curious for Kirk, the first driver down to the lane. That does mean he's on cold tyres, whereas everyone else that he was around will be on hot tyres. And the other thing is, with only 2 tyres required in the stop, and almost certainly will have taken those front 2 tyres, it'll leave him with no front end grip, but a rear end that's got some grip and heat, which will give it some capacity to slide around a bit. As well, that's about as close as the lead has been. Down to 0.07 of a second on the front stretch as we check out our second scheduled pit stop. Ray Oliver in the 99 brings his car down the lane. He'll go up on the jacks, and that looked all nice and orderly. Camera going up in time there pretty quick. So let's be curious to watch here how his stationary and transit compare to Hayden Kirk, given the error there for Kirk in the 371. He's only just coming through Variante Alta at the moment.
Long stop for Oliver in comparison to Hayden Kirk. Now, I think back to series we've broadcast in the past with these cars. From memory, 2 tyres done at a time. So it is quicker to do one side of the car as opposed to doing the front or the rear. Now, with what Kirk did, his pit stop being about 4 seconds quicker, did he take one side of the car as opposed to front tyres? Is a possibility. It's something that some drivers may do. They may do the working side of the car as opposed to doing the fronts to get a faster pit stop time.
To be honest, it's a thing I never thought of, because the only racing I've done in these cars went with 2 fronts to ensure that both drive tyres were balanced. Otherwise, our only other driving in the car has been the Nürburgring 24, and after a couple
Well, then you do 4.
No, actually, the Nürburgring 24, you just do 4 tyres. You do 4 tyres every stop, because you can cover it with the fuel tank refill. So you might as well make sure the car balance is reset every lap you do. As we stay here with the front 4, and again down to almost 0.08 of a second before Buck just rolls out a fraction, it seems, before they hit the brakes for Tamburello. Start of lap number 18 for your leaders here. No one blinking yet into the pit stop, as well, the next car to blink and come to the lane is Ben Faulkner in the 042 for the ICT Marketing Race on Oz entry here. And, well, he's got a bit of damage to try and fix up. We'll see how long he stays in the lane and whether he gets any of that fixed. The other driver who follows him into the lane, 404 of Chris Fogarty, brings his car to the lane and up on the jacks now as well. So, I mean, going back to the tyre conversation, unfortunately, I couldn't tell you if a working side choice was made, but it certainly would explain why Kirk was stopped stationary once he got it into the pit box, was 4 seconds quicker than Ray Oliver's.
Ray Oliver could have also taken more fuel. That could be another thing. He might have just decided, hey, I'm going to take extra fuel and then pit really late for tyres. I mean, we don't really know. He may have just filled it up, did Ray, as opposed to filling it up enough to cover a pit stop at the end. So we don't know the exact strategy. Some drivers may have actually fully calculated, if I take X amount of fuel, that will cover me enough so that I can take the exact same amount of fuel as the tyres take to get me home to the end. Other drivers may not have worked that out and will just fill the car up to the exact amount, so to the full tank.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't know exactly how many drivers have gone that far ahead with their strategy. Interesting that no one in the lead group has jumped, considering we are past 1/3 race distance. A safety car now, I don't want to say that we're going to have one, but a safety car now would hurt each and every one of those drivers. But if one of these guys come into the pits and then the safety car comes out, well, they're a huge winner.
Well, yeah, it's all about the timing of the safety car in terms of where they're on track, mind you, because
Yeah, very good point.
of course, with manual safety cars here, And, well, Manuel said he goes, but in addition to that, I think Brett Loxton's missed his pit box. That looked like it was the camera reversing there on the lane. And, well, after 18 laps, Loxton is in and relieves, relinquishes P7 at the time. Dyson Freeman has followed him into the pits as he takes the 26 down to the lane. Oh, that's not the angle you want to have on pit entry, Dyson. I think that might have been a slightly compromised pit lane.
Yeah.
Loxton off the jacks.
Yeah, he definitely missed his pit box because he didn't even go up. So he's trying again.
Oh,
and there he goes.
Oh dear, that's rough. I saw multiple attempts to count that one there, and
It's about 12 seconds he lost then.
oh, that's going to be really nasty. Looking at the numbers I'm seeing from so far from pit drivers pitting, I'm going to say that, yeah, Ray Oliver's just put in more fuel at that point.
I agree.
Brett Loxton, a little bit more fuel for him than the average, although I think he missed his pit box a little bit. That might have been added to his calculations. Timothy Harris has just hit the lane for his first scheduled service at the end of lap number 19. Actually, pardon me, he's at the end of lap 18. The leaders are coming to the end of lap 19, which actually will put Harris one lap down, which actually is an interesting call from him. I would think, to be honest, that was probably a bit of a risky move because there's no guarantee you get a wave around from race control in the case of a safety car. And indeed, there go 1, 2, 3, 4.
If the safety car does come out, he will get a lap back because those guys will come into the pit, so he will get himself back on the lead lap in that aspect. But even still a surprising call. The one I'm really surprised by, though, is Carl Sampson. I thought he would have already been in, but then we flipped the coin on that. Well, his pace isn't completely horrible. It's not amazing. It's not completely horrible, so stay out as long as you can and hope that you get a safety car to be able to come in and fix damage. So I can see both sides of that, but for me, I'd think come in and get as much damage as you can get fixed early on so you got pace at the end.
It's a curious case, the fluctuating pace of Carl Sampson. Definitely a couple of 157s in there, but, well, he's just hit a 155.903, and that's his second best lap of the race. No, pardon me, it's not even his second best lap. It's his third best lap of this race. So there's a couple of 57s in there to that's slowed him down a bit. But to be honest, yeah, Carl is mostly lapping in the mid to low 56s and dipping into the 55s. And to be honest, it's just the couple of outlier laps that have sort of held him up a bit with traffic and such. So to be honest, despite the non-existence or the lack of the front end, he's still got grip. He's still got speed. He's just done the second fastest sector of the race, which, if I remember correctly here, that takes you from just before the Villeneuve chicane up to Piratella.
Yep.
On the iRacing sectors. So
there's lots of purples on this lap, actually. Lots of purple and green on the timing screen. So these guys must be getting down to the very, very bottom of the fuel tank because they're almost all obviously getting close to the fuel limit, meaning they can go a bit faster. These tyres, sure they wear, but they don't wear as much as other tyres, which makes the two-tyre stop a little bit of an interesting dynamic to these guys. But yeah, lots of personal best laps. New fastest lap of the race just there from Matthew Pluck. Mulqueen only a tenth slower. Baker and Jordan also doing very, very fast laps. Actually, sorry, I take that back. Dylan Jordan still has the fastest lap of the race by 100th of a second.
make it 1/1000th.
1,000th even. Yeah, that's right. You are right.
Yeah, Mulqueen's time was 100th off, and yeah, it's all kinds of ballistic laps there. Although it looks like that pace has just dipped ever so slightly at the start of this 21st lap of the race. So yeah, it's an interesting one here. These guys all continuing to stretch this opening stint. Certainly, given the way the tyres behave, it looks like, yeah, it'll go a little bit longer than the evens in this bit. Maybe about evens in the second stint. Give yourself some time to work the tyres in for the final stint, but then it might just be these drivers opt to go as long as they can before they come to the pits. That's wide, though, from Mulqueen through the Acro Minerale. Matthew Pluck's closing steadily. Gets alongside, and Mulqueen lets him go. He's not going to fight that one under brakes here. And in fact, actually almost runs into the back of him with the momentum, but it brings Ewan Baker to the party. Dylan Jordan, who's not really actually closed up as much as I thought he would with that change of position, but it's now 1, 2, 3, and then 4. But Here we are, Malt Queen in a KSR sandwich. What can he do as Baker gets close, but not able to send one under brakes? He'll have to settle for trying to be a bit of a pest in the mirror. Perhaps here as they come to the lane, and Malt Queen and Baker both to the lane here at the end of lap 21. Now, this will be interesting to watch. Who wins, the overcut or the undercut, as Thomas Hins down to the lane as well. Meanwhile, oh dear, trouble for Robert Northway. Sends the 46 to the gravel down at Ravazza 1. Quick look at this one here on the replay. Driscoll, and yeah, it's a bit of grass on the way in under brakes, and as a result, does a bit of lawn mowing for us there in his Honda, but he loses maybe a second or two for his troubles. As Carl Sampson's just gone by, he did a 155.775, ended lap 20 instead of 56.0. Yeah, about 6-7 tenths off of your race leaders.
Oh, look at this.
Oh. All right, there you go. Drag race off the lane. It's actually going to be Damon Mulquin who wins it by a fraction. Baker perhaps willing to slide out in behind there. Let's see, what were their times like? 50.6 on the lane, 23 in the box, and 8 tenths of a second in the favour of actually, yours says 9 tenths, mine says 8 tenths, potato, I hope. That's why Ewan Baker was that much closer to Mulqueen as they came out of the lane there. But now the question is, how long does it take for these guys to get their cars switched on and racing? Because these guys here with warm tyres, they've probably now got about 2, maybe 3 laps, depending on the fuel levels and such involved here, where they can be confident with the pace in the car.
Sector 2 is the first flying sector that Mulqueen and Baker are on, around about 3.5 tenths slower in that first flying sector. So you've got fuel and cold tyres, so there's going to be a noticeable difference, but Pluck and Jordan will then lose that same amount back when they come into the pits. But yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't come in straight away. So nearly at the halfway point of the race and still haven't made a pit stop. Still got, what, 6 drivers that you get to make their stop? Pluck, Jordan, Doherty, Northway, Sampson and Noble. I thought that one of these two here would have pitted. I thought Doherty would have pitted to try and make sure that Thomas Hins didn't do something funky with an undercut. Northway and Sampson continue on, and Sampson's actually closing on Northway. Remember, Northway did make that mistake, but even still, Sampson's pace has been very, very strong, even with that horribly damaged car.
Yep, only 4 tenths slower than the race leader last time by. 55.930 for the 27 here. So he's continuing to put pressure on, and actually last lap around lost a little bit of time to Northway by about a tenth. And on this particular lap, I believe he's gone through the sector 1 marker already and lost another 2 tenths as Mark Noble, next to the drivers to pit, now goes dropping down the order towards the back of the field. He'll be 22 laps for him, and then there were 5 drivers left, and Mark, unfortunately, another driver.
We know what that was.
Yep, unfortunately, overshoot the pit box. So important that you're gonna, in a race like this where you need to hit your marks to make sure you're efficient and quick in the pits, and that was another one there. Okay, so I thought it was going to take a lap or 2 for these guys here to switch on. They've already switched on sectors 1 and 2 for Mulqueen and Baker on this lap here and now. It's their second lap of the run, are already matching your race leaders for sector by sector times. We'll see if sector 3 is continuing to show that form here as they come up the hill from Ackerman Arale. Has a slowdown for Ben Doherty in the 313. That'll be hurting him here again.
Sector 1, they were actually quicker. So, yeah, I think the tyres aren't taking too long to get up to temp at all. It's pretty much 4 sectors, and they're already up to temperature and up to pace. Northway in.
Yeah, they were faster through sector 3, through their 3rd sector as well. Finally lose some time in the 4th sector down the hill from Variante Alta to your 2 leaders. But it looks to be Dylan Jordan who's got some pace here at this point in the race. But he's still in P2 for now. Come to line, this is our first flying lap Damon Mulqueen and Ewan Baker. 55.5, 55.2 for your leading pair. And it's split the middle, basically. 55.3s for Mulqueen and Baker each. So there you go. Only takes a lap to get this car up to temperature, it seems, here at Imola tonight in the 2-litre Touras. The leaders are now on notice because they've got that cold tyre phase, that cold out lap, I should say, to get through.
One thing we haven't noted, the track temperature has cooled around about a temperature from green flag as well. So that will be helping the guys that did pit earlier because they're going to have fresh tyres on a cooler track. I think some drivers may think, hey, the track is cooling. Second pit stop, we better not leave it too long because then we can use the fresh tyres to our advantage. So, yeah, the whole dynamic of this race has changed. Mulqueen's doing personal best sectors with a full tank of fuel and fresh front tyres. These guys are now really having to come into the pits and saying that they're not. Dylan Jordan's actually just set a personal best sector, so his pace is still very good. We're at 27 laps to go and not far off the halfway point. This race has got a very interesting dynamic to it as Jordan goes, well, I'm taking the lead here because my pace is better.
Yeah, he's been quicker so far for the past couple of laps, and there we go. Slides it up the inside as, well, how about this? Fastest sector 3 of the race from the 42 of Damon Mulqueen. And doesn't quite follow it up in sector 4. Oh, dear, indeed.
Brett Loxton.
Loxton in the 209. That checks out. Yeah, down at Acra Minerale.
Oh, there's been contact here. I was about to show this battle because Northway slipped in the middle of Loxton and Ray Oliver. But there's been contact here. Oh, big mistake from Northway. The other part to that is, I was about to say, is Northway pit lane drive-through penalty exceeding the incident limit.
Oh dear.
We're only halfway through the race.
Halfway through the race. It's been about 47 minutes or so of
racing. So he's going to get a drive-through here, and there's a potential for him still to get a race control imposed drive-through penalty here as well.
Well, that would be quite the disaster for him indeed. As Carl Sampson is taking his pit stop, but
no time to get damage fixed.
Minimal to no damage repairs were completed in the course of that one, and fair enough, I suppose. You're still under green. You need your pace is a couple of tenths off the leaders. It's going to have to wait for now. As well, I think we're seeing here the power of the slipstream relevant more than ever because Matthew Pluck, not being dropped by Dylan Jordan with that exchange of position as they make their way down the front straightaway here. And indeed, Pluck being towed along once more, this time by his teammate rather than their nearest competitor. And good pace from Dylan Jordan. Fast, it's not, well, it wasn't official, but pretty quick there from the 21, 55, 149.
So Northway hasn't actually served his pit lane drive-through penalty. He just came in and done his second pit stop. So what he's going to do is come back around next lap and do another stop. A drive-through, I should say, which will then clear him from all of his pits, and then he'll be hoping for a safety car to then bring him back into contention. So he's not the last driver to get a drive-through in this race too. I can tell you now that there is another driver in the field that is only one incident point away from getting a drive-through penalty. A couple of others that are only 5 or 6 away as well. So we're going to see a few more drive-throughs to come in this race.
Yeah, not quite what you'd want to hear. As fastest lap of the race goes to Damon Mulqueen on lap 25. He's still towing Ewan Baker with him, who was very close to his time. And, well, funnily enough, it was technically slower than Dylan Jordan's last lap, but Jordan finding an off-track somewhere among the course of the racing, thereby invalidating that lap. So, yeah, it's on now between Mulqueen versus Jordan and Pluck, and Baker's still there in the conversation. As well, there you go, gap around 45 seconds. Pit lane transit here for the Mulqueen and Baker, 50 seconds.
And it's a very, very long pit lane at a very, very low speed.
Indeed. 80 km/h speed limit has been upgraded to Formula 1 specification speed limits at least. But again, they're still going. I mean, we aren't anywhere near the fuel tank range of these cars on time, at least. They do about an hour and a half, as we just watch here. Dyson Freeman to the inside of Isaac Edwards for 13th place. Oh, Edwards, though, able to...
Good job from Edwards to hold on.
Side. Holds on for now. Watch out, though, for the run off of turn 4 here at the end of the Tamburello complex. And Freeman's looking. Gets the inside for the first part. Can he switch it back here with an over-under?
Oh, beautiful.
Get much better run as a result, but he's now stuck on the outside of the Tosa hairpin. But again, can he force an over-under? He's going to try and turn down here in the middle and then power around the outside. Initial acceleration is in favour of the Audi. He's left plenty of space by Edwards. And he is going to get a nose ahead here. Up to Piratella. Edwards tries to hang on, but surely now going to have to concede with the double right of the Acrominerale complex.
Have a look at who's coming to them as well. This could hurt these guys. Ben Doherty's coming in to make his second pit stop. But this could hurt Jordan and Pluck. Two drivers fighting for position who are about to be lapped. The leaders are closing in. I don't think this is going to work in their favour because they're going to have to slow down to make sure they don't make contact with these guys.
This is exactly not what the race leaders want to be seeing. Yeah, it's one of their teammates from the KSR stable, but it looks like...
even if it hurts them 2 or 3 tenths, it's still going to hurt them long term.
And look at that, Dyson moving over, I think trying to keep in the mirrors of Edwards and keep the pressure on as they come down into Rivarza 1. And it's the stuff like here, these corners where if you get backed up, that's going to hurt.
Pit now.
And they do have to pit, and Isaac Edwards is going to pit with them as well. And I think Jordan's just got checked up on the pit entry as well. Edwards actually gets a black flag.
He's exceeded the incident limit.
Oh, an off track on the way into the pits. That will be a painful one. Yes, sir. But yeah, watch out. Dale Mulqueen, I reckon, has just been gifted a free opportunity to take the race lead back with that final sector.
Dan, Sector 4, which is the sector coming through Variante Alta, they lost nearly half a second. And they weren't even with the guys. They were just closing up to them. So definitely has played an impact. They may have lost a second and a half. That will see Mulqueen and Baker slide on by, you would think.
Yeah, pit stop time's about the same, 24 odd seconds. They're going and rolling down the lane now, but Mulqueen's already going, and nope, that's not Mulqueen at the pit exit. Here comes Mulqueen and Baker as there you go.
And they've still got to get their tyres up to temperature too, so they're going to be hurting for the next 3/4 of a lap. It's going to be a big, painful run. Matthew Pluck didn't have a slower pit stop, but he's lost 4 seconds in the pit lane. That's huge.
Have a quick look at Pluck then. Ask the question.
55 seconds in the lane. You compare that to Jordan, 51 and a half. Baker, 50 and a half. Mulqueen just under 51. That's huge for Pluck. Lost a lot of time. Similar pit lane transit time to Ray Oliver, but Ray Oliver took 3 seconds more fuel.
He stalled it on leaving the box.
Oh, wow.
That's something I haven't seen all too often. Yeah, he got into the box perfectly fine. It's stalled as it's come down off the jacks and he's dumped the clutch to get going.
Wow, that's painful. That's very, very painful. You don't see it too often, as you said. It doesn't happen a huge amount, but there's races where the no assists available, so the clutch assist not available in this series. Does catch a few drivers out, and of course, some may not have done too many pit stops in these cars as well. And no, Pluck has done a couple, in previous races, but even still, it's not something you really practice a huge amount, is it? It's not something you think about doing too much. You do practice race starts, but you don't do practicing leaving the pit box after a pit stop.
No, not often. I mean, if you can, you do your practice and you know what to do in terms of starting the car from zero, it, for the most part, often should be, and of course, and somewhat is standard practice. But indeed, you're right to say that clearly just a small slip of, well, quite literally a slip of the clutch. Didn't have enough of that there to keep the revs up.
Interesting.
And he's rolling away, and
Dylan Jordan straight back into the pits. Matthew Pluck straight back into the pits. So they're doing their pit stops back to back. I'm going to guess they're going to do the other 2 tyres now on this pit stop. They've done all 4 tyres in 2 pit stops and back-to-back laps. Not a bad strategy call if that's what they're doing.
It's fascinating. I hope we get a chance to talk to one of them then, if they can finish on the podium for this one, because yeah, that is a very unique strategy. And again, with the race as it's currently going, the fact that we're over halfway into this one as Ben Faulkner finally gets a move done on Ray Oliver at turn 2. There, Tamburello. And that has felt like that's been one that's been building up for some time. And there we go. And that there is... Oh, no! Oh, no! Dylan Jordan around at Tamburello. I think that is cold rear tyres that just caught him out. And look at this, stuck on the outside of the track and waiting for a chance for the road to clear up. Look at it on the replay here. It's sliding, it's loose, and it goes. And I think, yeah, I think he's gone for that strategy of doing a different gambit. Puts cold rear tyres on, and they just do not give him what he needs and what he's expecting from the car. And it comes under load for the first time at the braking zone for Tamburello.
Maybe I take that back about that being a very, very clever strategy call. You want your rear tyres to stay hot. You don't need to go and change those rears. Just get those fresh fronts on. So, I mean, Matthew Pluck's still out there with that strategy as well. We'll see what happens there. But, yeah, that's painful for Dylan Jordan. Drops all the way back to 12th. Positive is he's done both of his pit stops, but he's now a minute and a quarter away from these race leaders who still have to make one stop. Take away the 44 odd seconds for the pit stop. He's still half a minute behind. That's really hurting.
It has indeed. I think Matthew Pluck, who's just in behind his teammate Hayden Kirk at the moment. It's been pretty costly. It's pretty costly for his positioning as well. Actually, if you use Pluck as a reference, because Jordan was a couple of seconds ahead of Pluck as well. Yeah.
The track position hasn't played out well for Pluck. He hasn't got clean air that he would have liked.
Yeah, that is also a problematic issue here. Yes, it's the teammate from Hayden Kirk, but it would seem to be that much in the way of team orders, as it looks like he's going to have to do this the hard way, as it were. Although, I think I stand corrected there. Kirk already well alongside was Pluck in at the start-finish line, and indeed no contest at Tamburello itself. So now he's got clean air, but yeah, that was a lap that he probably couldn't afford. Can't afford to have too many of those. Already on the back foot trying to go long, and Mulqueen got his car up to speed and has also taken the fast lap of the race once again and moved it to a 1:55.0. So, yeah. Yeah, the undercut by 1 lap hurts. But clearly, if you undercut by 2, well, not so much 2, but undercut by 4, 5, 6 laps or more, and you're in good hands so far. And so, the gambit is on, though, as to whether having fresh rears, if that's what we think has happened here, will make a difference. I'm not convinced, but I guess you never know if he's got somewhat of a balanced car in terms of tyre temperatures. As there's your race leader going down into Tamburello. And we just saw moments ago Matthew Pluck was somewhere up around Akron and Raleigh now. That was where he was. He'll be on his way down from Verona to Elva to the Rivartzes shortly, I would suggest.
So, while you see there's 3 cars in this battle group, that third car in the group is Robert Northway, who's actually putting in very, very good lap times on the tail of these guys. Remember, he's had to come in and serve a drive-through penalty for exceeding the incident limit. So he is now well and truly out of sequence with everyone. Still has to make 1 more pit stop. The only drivers that have made their 2 stops, Jordan, Doherty, and Pluck. Northway? Northway still has to make another stop.
My timing says Northway has come down the lane 3 times. Let's see if I can try and decipher
Mine only says 2.
Interesting.
We'll work that out later on. We'll get race control to confirm it. Someone who is coming in for the second time is Dyson Freeman. We might have to look into that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I see the same. Yeah, I see 3 now as well. So yep, I think he is okay.
Oh yes,
Even
remember
Kirk-
remember Northway came in back-to-back laps.
That's right, he did too. Yep.
Just confirm that on laps 24 and 25.
I think we're about to get that confirmed from race control. I think they're listening in to us and hearing us. Not sure. In regards to incident limits, actually, Dyson Freeman just came into the pits and has decided to retire from the race. So I'm not sure what's happened there. And yeah, confirming that Northway is good to the end. So yes, you are right. I take back everything I said. In regards to the incident limit, we've seen 2 drivers already serve drive-throughs, Northway and Edwards. We're not far off seeing another one as well. Someone is on 18 incidents out of their 20, so I'll be hoping they don't get any more off-track incident points. Going to cut away from that battle because Ray Oliver's under a lot of pressure here from a wounded
Northway.
Samson.
Northway's in the fence at the Villeneuve chicane. This might just be that safety car that we were looking for. Because look at that left front tyre in the gravel.
Yep. Oh, well, look at not only that, it's right front's damaged as well. What has he done here?
It's just jumped. Oh, yep.
He's just got him way too hot.
Eats an anti-cut. He was pushing. He did a decent lap previous. And
Safety
there
car
it
has been
is.
called.
He was pushing to stick. Oh, in the grass.
Oh,
on the
grass.
brakes. That completely destabilized the entry, and that's why he's way too quick. And it's gone from hero to zero. He was indeed sticking with the front two, Jay. And just like that, it's all over for him. He'll get a tow back to the pits, but with no fast repairs available, his race will be as good as done.
Harris is back in the race. He's at perfect spot to get his pit stop done. Everyone else, while sure, they're not behind the safety car yet, they won't be going at 100% speed. You would expect Mulqueen and Baker to come straight in now. There's no point staying out. Everyone's going to pit up until our driver Matthew Pluck. So Harris is going to get a very good free kick to get back into this race. The other driver that's going to get back into it is Carl Sampson. He'll be able to come in, work out how much damage he wants to get fixed. I'm going to say he's going to get about 10 seconds worth of damage fixed. He could get that front splitter repaired.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what he chooses to do. Because, yeah, he could afford to just sit there and just let the damage tick away if he reckons that will get him net lap speed. He's still lapping in the high 155s.
He's got 10 seconds to Loxton behind, so he can afford to lose 10 seconds.
And that's if he wants to go for a lose no places. He could afford to take 20. Well, 20 seconds. Yeah. Oh, there you go. 093 of Timothy Harris. Got picked up by the safety car momentarily, but is released. So indeed.
Baker out in front.
All right. He was better in the pit stop on the first time, and
Mulqueen's slow in the lane.
Damon, yeah, Mulqueen 5, 4.5, 3.5.
There's a lot of smoke in the lane.
Yeah,
what has happened in the pit lane?
Is that coming from Ben Faulkner's car?
I reckon he's just absolutely smoked it into the lane.
And Carl Sampson not opting to do much in terms of damage repair. Ben Doherty's one of the drivers who's actually picking up some spots here. He hasn't been able to...
He pitted for his second stop very, very quick, very, very early. He came in for his second stop around the same time that we saw Pluck come in for his second stop. So Doherty came in very early for his.
He did, but still going to be behind Thomas Hinz at this stage of the race. And also the other driver who has been given a moment of redemption here, the 21 of Dylan Jordan. We'll have to get through Doherty and Hinz to rejoin that fight at the front of the field, but he's now got that new lease of life. Carl Sampson's still out there and has not opted to take substantial repairs, so he's going to be betting on odds of catching, well, passing the guys directly ahead without losing spots. As you said, opting not to sit there and take some repair at the pit stop.
I'm surprised he didn't take a little bit, because, I mean, he's probably not going to beat Faulkner, Oliver, those guys out of the pits anyway. So he probably could have afforded to maybe take, even if it was 5 seconds worth of damage repair. Surprised he took none. I'm very, very surprised he took none.
Confidence in his performance in the car then, relative to where he sits. So, we'll see if that confidence was well placed, as your leaders now well and truly picked up by the Logitech G Virtual Racing School Porsche Cayman GT4 safety car. Currently in the hands of, well, what I suspect is Henry King. But since we're in one of the leagues here for the support series, it just simply says race control. Actually, no, pardon me. Does this say safety car out on track? It is safety car.
I can tell you who is driving that safety car. I believe it is Aaron Gilbert out there in the safety car. I'll confirm that in just a second for you.
Given I'm hearing Mr. Henry King on the radio, that would sort of check out, because keeps Henry free to keep an eye on all things safety car procedure related from the Overwatch position.
Here's Aaron Gilbert driving the safety car. I did make a bit of an educated guess based on who's in the race control booth with Henry.
Indeed.
Yeah, so yeah, interesting that incident count. I said before that we've got a couple of drivers that are close. So we've got one driver on 18, one on 13, a few on 12. One driver is on only 5 incidents. So someone is doing very, very well in regards to the incident count by keeping it rather low, rather good for later on. Someone within the top 3 has 6. So they're going to be able to push extremely hard towards the end of the race. I'm not going to say who they are, because we will have people that are listening in, and we'll have communication with the drivers. And I don't want to do something that could ruin someone's race with a little bit of a love tap and things like that. But yeah, we've got some interesting numbers in regards to the incident points out there.
Good points to note there, indeed. And also, in addition to that, the whole point of making sure you don't give away too much information to some potentially nefarious decision making.
I don't think anyone in this series would be cruel enough to do things like that, but I do know in other series we broadcast that could be something that would be used against people. So I've always got it in my head that don't give away the information you've got that could affect the race outcome like that. But yeah, knowing that we've got drivers that are close is going to provide a very interesting curveball, and the fact that we've got drivers up the front that have got plenty to play with is going to make it very, very interesting when we go green. It'll be 17 laps to go. 1/3 race distance still left in this one. 80-odd kilometres, 90-odd kilometres to go. Still plenty of racing left.
That there is indeed. And, well, we've been at it for just over an hour now, so give us another half hour or so. I believe we'll have this all done fairly soon, as the safety car does indeed pull away from the field here now. And it is now in the control of Ewan Baker for the restart once that safety car is back in the pit lane here. So stay single file. Stay way down. Right from 1 and 2. And then it's going to be down to when does Ewan Baker time this restart. You see these guys close up the gaps a little bit here.
Make sure they stay at that 80 kilometres an hour. Of course, same as all Australian and New Zealand motorsport. No weaving once the safety car pulls away. So single file. Make sure that you don't do the weave to generate extra heat. That is done. You cannot do that anymore. In control of the field is Ewan Baker. I think he's going to wait until he apex before he goes.
Would make sense. Put yourself in the spot where you can put the foot down, and indeed, just
After
a little bit
the
later
apex.
than the apex, but certainly as early as he can do. The foot is to the floor. The Molqueen has gone with him quite nicely indeed. We agreed once again here at Imola in the 2-litre Tourers, and it's mostly single file down the front stretch as the toe is going to kick in now towards the end of the straight, and here comes Molqueen straight off the restart, but he's going to have to go to the outside for Tamburello.
He's not going to be able to get through either. He's going to be too far back to get that move done. But what he's done is open up the door for Matthew Pluck to potentially come through. We are clean through Tamburello. Everyone has made it through safely, which is great to see. And into Villeneuve. Will we get through here safely?
5 through, and then here comes half of the top 10.
Oh, here comes Pluck.
All in rapid succession indeed. Pluck to the inside of Mulqueen, but not there. Through the corner, he'll have to settle back into line. There's one of the drivers who is looking racy there.
Thomas Hinz has closed in very quickly.
He has switched that car on quite nicely here off the restart. Hinzy's only got 2 laps on his tyres. So, well, of course, one of the group that's taken his tyres at the pit stop on the safety car, I should say. So they'll be coming up to temperature now. Maybe that Honda able to switch them on a little bit better in his hands at the moment, it seems, versus the others around him, though. At the front, it really looks like Mulqueen's got the advantages. Just needs to find a way through at this point. A little wide off the exit of the very Delta, but no slowdowns for anyone in the field on this restart lap as they all pile on down the hill. Two of Arts 1 and 2. The 35th time in this race. And that's a little bit squirmy from Hayden Kirk in that 371 Civic. He does keep it under control there. Stay where he is currently, P11. Brent Loxton ahead, Chris Fogarty behind. Goes back to the front because it's on here. And Mulqueen, the toe once more. He's alongside though at the start-finish line. This is going to be all about the braking performance here at Tamburello once again. Mulqueen nose ahead before we get to the brake zone. He brakes a little bit later, but Baker's in deep. Grabs the anti-cut and slings across in front of Mulqueen. Covers it off at turn 3, but Mulqueen aggressive across the inside of turn 4. He doesn't get the job done. It puts Pluck on his bumper, but Hinzy's there. Oh, dear.
Slow down for Doherty? No, he backs out of it.
3 backs out of it. Actually allows Dylan Jordan through as Ray Oliver looking for the inside of Ben Faulkner and Villeneuve. Upsets Faulkner's car there as inside of Mulqueen looks Pluck once more. Dylan Jordan looking at the inside of Thomas Hinz further on back. Meanwhile, look at this here. 2-3 wide as Ray Oliver's all kinds of harassment on the 042 machine as they come up the hill. The Piratello is only on the outside. This will be a gamble. You can pull this one off here, Jay.
Sampson also had a huge lock-up into Tosa as well, so he may have cooked that front tyre as well.
That was the smoke cloud I caught for a moment there. As look at this, Oliver's trying, but no. He will not be able to hang it around the outside, which became the inside for the start of the Acura Minerale. He will slot back into line in P8 for now, but this is holding up this little group of cars here, allowing the top 6 to make their own breakaway. As we see that leading group file on through the very Alpha once again.
This is a very cool battle, and you can see Faulkner, Oliver, they're battling too aggressively because now they're losing so much ground, and Carl Sampson knows that in that group. He wants to get clear of those boys as soon as he can. He's got the pace still, even with that damage, to match the guys at the front, but he's losing ground based on Faulkner and Oliver's battle. So Sampson has been the one that has been dropped. Also, Tim Harris's his pace is looking very, very strong as well. So had a little bit of an issue earlier on, but he's well and truly back in this race. May even get himself back into a top 10. You think back to half an hour, 45 minutes ago, there was no way you'd think he'd be a top 10 candidate. Mulqueen, a little bit of contact to Baker into turn 2, into Tamburello. No move done yet, but the top 6 is starting to become a top 5. Is Ben Doherty not quite able to match these guys?
No, he's not. My, oh my, that was getting a bit loose under brakes there. A little bit of shuffling just before they got on the anchors. Back at turn 2, this time into the Villeneuve chicane. Baker's a little wide through the second part of the complex here, but Pluck is all kinds of aggro on the bumper of Mulqueen, who goes for the natural line on the way in, but has to leave the apex open as a result. But in turn, that allows him to get good drive off the corner with a straighter exit. Thomas Hinz having to try and get some pressure on Pluck as well, because he's under pressure from Dylan Jordan behind, who looks to the inside late. Piratello, but no, he's not there. Hinz comes across, able to shut that door before it needs to be opened up. And oh boy, we're now really getting the action game on. And it's just keeping that top 6 together. Ray Oliver's finally through on Ben Faulkner. That fight for P7.
For now.
Resolved for the moment, indeed. It looks like it might just go back the other way here up the hill. See our top 6 file on in, single file for them into the very Alta, almost side by side between Oliver and Faulkner in the background, but settle for single file as well. This time by, it is on, up and down the field here, Jake.
It is well and truly on, and you can see Doherty starting to get back into this group. That gap at the start of the lap between Doherty and Oliver was around about 1.7 seconds, 1.8 seconds. Is now up to 2.3. So that second group losing a lot of time to that group in the front. You can see there Ray Oliver 2.4 seconds back from Ben Doherty. So that group of 6 at the front, I think they will feel pretty safe about that being a group of 6 all the way to the end now.
Yeah, here we go once again. Mulqueen sent to the outside, as he has been every single time, ahead under brakes at turn 2 for Tamburello. Baker tried to shut the door. I think there must have been some kind of netcode contact, because Baker's to the grass, has to watch the rejoin and will tumble all the way back to P6 as that lead group files on through. Mulqueen restored to the race lead, but for how long? Further on back, Loxton and Kirk are together.
Oh, no.
Loxton around in the grass. Kirk gets a black flag for iRacing, incident limit from that one there. And Loxton stalls out for a second, I think, as we check out the replay. You see here, moves across to the middle. And then around.
You almost have to put that one on Loxton, don't you?
I think so. I mean, Kirk has the right to try and keep him open. And you can see here, on board here with Loxton, you see, normal line. Moves over to the middle. And then Kirk is alongside at that point and not trying and not willing to have the door shut for the narrow entry. Get back to live pitches when we can, because it's heating up for the lead once more. On board with Kirk, you see just from that angle, Loxton's car just comes across the nose. And unfortunately for Hayden Kirk, he's the next driver to pick up an iRacing black flag for the incident limit tonight. So he will serve a penalty for that one regardless. As what happened while we were on the replay, Damon Mulqueen, a rare mistake at Acro Minerale, put Matthew Pluck all over his rear bumper and compressed this top 6 once again. Pluck late on the brakes, forcing the door open at Ravazza 1, but no, he's not there for Ravazza 2. Single file to his corner as they come back onto the front stretch. It is on like Donkey Kong, I would say.
Still 13 laps to go as well, so it's not like this is battling for the last lap. We've still got plenty of action left in this one. This is going to be all action-packed all the way to the end. That battle pack behind with the fighting that's happened in the lead group is now only 1.4 seconds behind. I may have spoke too soon about this just being safely a battle of 6, because that secondary group is closing very quickly.
Yeah, it is. It seemed like it might have been a done deal, but yeah, with the way that Mulqueen and Pluck and co are all fighting for these spots, there's another mistake from Mulqueen. Wide on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. This time inside contact with Pluck. Pins up the inside. Will try and get the nose ahead here on the exit of Tosa as they drive up the hill, but the wider line means the earlier power down for Pluck on the outside. Though for Piratello as we crest the hill. Oh, it's busy as Pluck comes across the nose of Hins. Almost gets spun, but able to hang on to it and get the spot back for P2 as they then head down to the Acro Minerale. And indeed, look at Ray Oliver closing in the background. Dylan Jordan still riding in P4, still waiting for his chance to spring something here, it would seem. Oh, man.
Ewan Baker, after being almost facing the wrong way, he's still back in this. He's in the group. He's sitting back watching, waiting, trying to work out when he can get through.
Yeah, it's going to be a game of when do you go for it, because
this is a group of 9 now.
It is. Ray Oliver brings Ben Faulkner and Carl Sampson to the party here as they head down to Ravazza 1 for the 39th time in this race. On board here with the 27 of Sampson. And, well, he's been the walking wounded in this one. But through persistence and good pace, he's brought back into this one. As you said, lap times flick up on screens. Low 156s somehow still for your leaders.
Sampson, the fastest car on track last lap.
He is beaten by Ray Oliver, it looks like, by a 10th.
You're right.
But, yeah, the fact that the fastest car in the top, or in the race, comes from P7 and then P9 just shows you how aggressive that group of cars at the front of racing. It's not much. It's only a couple of tenths, but at this point in the race, closing in 10th by 10th is probably not the worst thing in the world. It gives you a bit of time to sort of let everything size on up front and then get the dramatic gains happening later on in this one, perhaps. More slowdown for Mark Noble in the 22 further on back. presumably based on where is marked 25 seconds back. Might have picked it up actually at the Rivalta 2 because he's still got it. So unless I've caught him straight away catching it, actually might have picked it up at Tamburello because he's still yet to clear it. But I'll worry about that another time because, yeah. All of a sudden though, calms down for the lead here, Jay.
And it's become a group of 6 again. Ray Oliver's dropped a bit of pace on this lap.
Yeah, so interesting back and forth between these groups dynamics as you see
Harris
there.
isn't too far away as well.
Yeah, Timothy Harris there in the 093 has a gap of around 3 seconds if he wants to catch Carl Sampson's car. The hungry pack swarms down into Rivalta 1 and Rivalta 2. Who's got the best power down? Who's got the best line? And then who's got the slipstream to make a move into Tamburello? The answer is it looks like it's going to be Pluck's close. Mulqueen, though, will surely defend the inside and force Pluck wide. He will. So we're on once again, side by side under brakes, but Mulqueen the last of the late breakers from the group. But it doesn't mean that Pluck actually going to flick underneath, square the exit of turn 3, and therefore try and crisscross again for turn 4 here perhaps, and then to Villeneuve, but he's not quite there. He's going to have to send it under brakes if he wants it, but what that has been is a compromised line from Mulqueen to the tune of about 2.5 tenths. Drags Thomas Hinz back into the fight. That 52 G shifters Honda not really looking like it's got the pace in the final sector in the front straightaway, Jay, but looking good as a result of this back and forth dynamic between your top 2 drivers here in the opening sector. Each lap is further on back. Look at that. Ben Falcon's having another go at Ray Oliver there.
Yeah, Samson will be looking at this saying, just go on and get through. Don't care which one of you go ahead. Just someone do it and stop slowing me up. Samson obviously doesn't quite have the pace to be able to get moves done, but he's definitely got the pace to maintain good lap times. You can see him backing out of it to make sure he didn't go side by side with Faulkner. They're very dangerous to do. Ray Oliver around. He holds onto it though. Very, very nicely done. He will get a slowdown penalty. We'll get an incident point for off track. We'll lose a spot to Timothy Harris, you would guess. No, he's going to hold on. Yeah, he's already cleared it. Well done.
Yeah, I think he lost that much momentum catching the slide that the car back up in speed. Yeah, that ticked away quite nicely there. So it was a pack of 3 that was chasing, and well, now it's a pack of 2 packs of 2. Trying to give this top 6 a bit of a reason to be smart about things, but this group of 6 is still breaking away here, and they're covered, as you can see, across the line, barely 2 seconds in it, and it will get under 2 seconds if the slipstream drags everyone back together. This time around, Matthew Pluck is not close enough to pressure Mulqueen into Tamburello, which will allow the top cut, the leaders to all get through there nice and steadily. Meanwhile, Harris now right on the bumper, I should say, of Oliver. What can he bring to the table to pressure this 99 Audi of Oliver here as they head through this 42nd lap of the race? And they'll tend to go up the line. Still quite a bit of racing to go. Touch under 54 minutes to be precise.
Incident limit check. We got Kirk, obviously, was that driver I was talking about earlier that was on 18 when we were looking at it at the restart, now on 21. So he's exceeded the incident limit, already served that drive through. But we've got another driver on 18, another driver on 16. We've got 3 drivers on 15, 2 drivers on 14, 1 on 13, another one on 13. That all changes. Doherty's just received a slowdown for running wide through Acqua Minerale. And we've got another one on 12, couple on 11, 1 on 10, and 1 driver on 8. That driver on 8 is within this top 6 battle.
So do they start burning the incident points? You wonder.
Well, here we go.
Indeed, here we go. Rivalta 1 for Matthew Pluck up the inside of Mulqueen, who has to keep the door open. As a result, side by side through the final turn, Thomas Hinz is potentially lining up something, but what's he got in that 52 machine? He's closing on these 2 steadily here in the slipstream at the 42. Come to the start-finish line with 9 to go, but Pluck's getting the side draft as we come down the straightaway. Mulqueen finally unable to cover the inside. He will try and force Pluck narrow. Dylan Jordan had to jump on the brakes early as Thomas Hinz was ahead. And there we go. That should be a change for the lead. Complete. It's close. It's done. Ewan Baker wants in at the back of the group, but he's just gets to the back of his teammate Dylan Jordan too soon, actually. Not able to get up the inside on the exit of the Tamburello complex to make something stick there, but all right, 9 to go. Lead
And Harris has just gone through too.
Indeed he has. I feel like Thomas Hinz here, he's been keeping a very calm and collected run in this group since the safety car restart, but it doesn't seem like he's got the pace to really
he just doesn't have that last 1%, does he? He's got enough pace to match them. He just doesn't have enough pace to quite get the move done. Maybe he's being a little bit too cautious as well. I think the one driver to watch out for is Dylan Jordan. I think he's just sitting, watching, waiting, wondering when's the right time to pounce. He's there ready to make this move, but just hasn't quite done it yet. But we've already seen in this race, he definitely has the pace to be able to potentially do it.
Yeah, I think, Hinz, one driver, I think, hasn't shown that extra 1-2% that he needs to be aggressive. I mean, you said, got the pace to ride with the group, and he makes gains, obviously, when these guys, especially the front two, start scrapping it out, but needs something more. And yes, Dylan Jordan led the race for a period before they took those late first pit stops. Did Matthew Pluck and Dylan Jordan. But I don't think he can afford to wait too long. He needs to be decisive with a move here on Hinz, and then try and potentially be the one that applies the pressure to Mulqueen to try and give Matthew Pluck that chance to build a small enough, it's small but meaningful margin to defend the leaders. Here we go once again. Mulqueen looks and goes late to the outside as Pluck defends it and actually gets across to cover off Mulqueen, who is therefore out of options through Tamburello this time. But slightly better run through the second part of the complex, but not enough to get alongside the Villeneuve. Not that you'd often pick the Villeneuve chicane as the place to make a move, given you've got the Tosa hairpin here. But no, he's lost a little bit of time in the opening couple of corners. So we'll stay in P2 for now, as a little wide from Ewan Baker there at the back of the group. And Ben Doherty, despite a couple of moments for him and looking like at some points he was off the pace and a slowdown not too long ago to boot, he's most certainly with this group of 6 still, Jay.
I'm surprised that the group hasn't fractured at all, this group of 6. I would have thought by now that someone would have, dropped off and dropped out of the group, but they've done really well to maintain pace together. They've been pulling away from Faulkner and Sampson, who are now nose to tail behind, but the rest of the group in this top 6, they've all been very, very evenly matched, which is great to see. The other part of that being evenly matched, it's not just that we've got one manufacturer in this group, we've got all three or 3 of the 4 that we can run in the series all in this group together, which is great to see.
Now you might want to...
Or have we?
Check that one. You've got 2.
We don't have the Audi in there. I'll take that back.
We've got 2 sets of 3. Unfortunately, our best Audi is currently in the hands of...
We've only got the one, haven't we?
Down in 10th. Mark Noble, the second Audi, still circulating back in 15th place with Dyson Freeman's retirement. Immediately we are down from 3 Audis to 2. As the leaders cross the line once more, 7 to go as Mulqueen's already alongside. Might have the nose ahead here at the braking zone. He does not this time. Thomas Hinz is there. As
he wanted to stick the nose in, didn't he?
He wants to, but he doesn't have the timing. Ewan Baker's got a run this time, but he's sent to the outside of his teammate Dylan Jordan. Will Baker get a chance to set something up? He's going to go Baker to the outside of Jordan. To the outside, comes inside of Hinz and gets the spot off his teammate, but actually balks Jordan and puts him under pressure from Doherty here for a moment into Tosa, but Jordan has the inside covered and Doherty doesn't pinch him down. Therefore, not able to benefit with the outside run and draft here as up the hill we go. So evenly matched, these guys here tonight. Notified of this, several more drivers in trouble, getting closer to the incident limits. Thankfully though, all the top 6 for now. Starts on that particular little list I've just read through.
Got a lot of drivers that are in the danger zone, aren't there? There's quite a few that one little love tap from someone else could put them over the incident limit. So it's going to be interesting to see how much aggression there is from everyone out there over the next few laps. 6.5 to go. Carl Sampson, I cannot believe that car is still going as quick as it is. The pace that he's got with the amount of damage he's got in that car makes you wonder how much pace he would have had if that car was undamaged at this point of the race.
Yeah, still ponder how much damage did it have that it wasn't worth it to him at all to do any kind of meaningful repairs on it. Is still unfortunately losing about 0.2 a lap to the leaders currently, but that last particular lap, the leaders then suddenly dropped to about a second a lap. So Sampson makes some inroads. Queen close, but not quite enough this time into Tamburello. So they all go single file on the preferred entry. There. And Doherty looking racy. Dylan Jordan, after we said there, possibly biding his time for a late lunch, on this particular start to the lap, not looking so great as, well, Ewan Baker makes a hash of the Villeneuve chicane. Actually going to make Doherty, Jordan vulnerable, but actually no. Doherty backs out of that one, doesn't commit to a dive up the inside. Jordan tries for a better run off the turn, but there's the fracture, Jay.
It's happened.
It's happened. We've now got ourselves this 2 sets of 3, and it's now actually fascinatingly Kiwi Sim Racing, Synergy Sim Racing, and Jinx Shifters. 3 different teams represented here in the top 3 is the other 2, the KSR crew that have been running here at the front of the field tonight. Now slightly adrift, and they've got a second to make up here in the final 5 laps.
Yeah, going to be difficult to make it up too. They're going to have to work together very, very aggressively over the next little bit. Bump drafting may be something that they need to look into doing, but they've got to be careful doing that because how many incidents do they all have to play with? I mean, I know the answer, but I'm not going to say. But they will also know their own personal answer, but they may not want to push someone else over the incident limit as well. And we've already seen what that little bit of contact can do on this front straight. The fact that there's a kink at the end of the front straight as you settle before the braking zone can play havoc to some drivers. So 5 laps to go, 1 second between 3rd and 4th. I think they're going to close it back down just based on the draft.
They might just indeed. There's gaps are all coming down to the leader here. It's just a question of we're going to see if we see another error like that from Ewan Baker, which is again another rare error out of the 34, although that's pushing very hard.
That was aggressive.
Tamburello, but pays off nicely enough for the moment.
Black flag for Mark Noble for exceeding the incident limit. There we go. I'm starting to run out of the English language.
Join the club. Welcome. Hayden Kirk in the 371 further on back picked up a slowdown 1 point later on in the lap. Sampson and Faulkner continue to race each other nose to tail. Timothy Harris, though, gained 1.4 seconds on Sampson in the last lap. So he makes gains like that. Well, he'll be there in 3 laps. And that gives him 2 laps to size up and attack. So Sampson and Faulkner will need to keep their eyes open for that late charge. Wouldn't
it be ironic if Harris and Sampson come back nose to tail on the last lap after making contact on the first lap?
It would be a very impressive.
It'd be a
very impressive bookending of the race, as it were.
As long as it doesn't end in contact again, it'd be great.
Yeah, if indeed. Well, indeed, gap down to about 0.8 between Thomas Hinds and Ewan Baker. And that margin between the 2 trios now a little smaller this time by. But the wings up a little bit there on the exit of the last couple of turns. Dylan Jordan be the one to say, let me lead the group. He looks to the inside. Ewan Baker, Mulqueen up the inside of Pluck already though. Gets a run this time and the door was open. So we get 2 side-by-sides. Mulqueen to the lead here with 4 to go at Tamburello. Jordan through into P4. Will he be the one to lead this second group of 3 back up to the leading the podium here as they try and push through. Tamburello there. Baker's actually going to challenge this into Villeneuve.
Oh, this is hurting them though as a group. They don't need this. Gap now 1.4 seconds. They've lost half a second just there. The exit of Villeneuve with the side-by-side.
Oh, it's such an unexpectedly interesting. Oh, it's an unexpected call. Like now they want to surely try and get up there to be able to provide some assistance to Matthew Pluck in his quest to get that race win off Damon Mulqueen, but apparently the KSR crew can't decide who's going to be the one to lead the group, and as he said, now up to 1.6 seconds. They could bring it down, but they've just made life so much harder. And he said on the cusp of the slipstream from the drivers ahead, and now all the work to do again and then some. Although this time by Dylan Jordan makes a small buffer behind to Ewan Baker. What has he got left in the tank to push the limits here? One driver has pushed the limits too hard. Timothy Harris on the exit of Acura Minerale. Small slowdown for the 093 here as we jump on board with the car. He's chasing Carl Sampson in this 27. Still bruised. Still pushing though to hang on, or able to ride with Ben Faulkner, but yeah, unfortunately not able to match Faulkner's pace thanks to the damage disparity. Seems to be all we can do at this point to hang on and follow through.
Now, I don't want to say this as a possibility. I don't think anyone is in this situation, but it's an endurance race. Someone always doesn't put enough fuel in the car. Who is it? And how bad will they be hurting by the end of the race, realizing probably about now that they don't have enough fuel to make it home?
I would admit that's quite the shocking proposition where
it will happen, but I don't know if it'll happen in this lead group.
Because, yeah, I'll worry about it later, because Pluck trying to get some overlap on Mulqueen. Wanted the inside, but wasn't able to crisscross into Tosa there. Although he's a little bit harried by Hinz on the exit of the corner. Puts a wheel in the dirt. That hurts the run in these cars up the hill with the traction all going to the front end. Hinz on the bumper. Is he now going to strike for second? Mulqueen up to nearly half a second as they make their way down the hill, but Buck closes it in a fraction. Here to Acura Minerale. Pulls it up nicely in the 51 machine, but he's now got a bit of an air gap here that he needs to close up. And yes, he's got a couple of corners here. If he can attack them right, he'll do that without too much drama. But we've seen so far this race that slipstream really effective at about 3/10 when you're exiting Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2. And Thomas Hinz finally a chance to be the one to apply the pressure down the hill here. Now that he's the one closest in this lead three.
Now, curveball. Are you ready? Someone in the lead group has 19 incident points. They are about to get a drive-through penalty. They are there, ready to get the penalty. Who is it going to be? I know who it's going to be, but will we see them get through clean? Field is fractured too.
It's quite telling who it is if you look at the numbers from the past couple of corners. As look at this, 3 about to become 4 if Dylan Jordan can extract some magic laps here.
Oh, a magic driver on someone with not enough fuel in the car. Ray Oliver in for a splash and dash.
Oh, you called it. You called it.
I've watched enough endurance racing to know that that's what happens.
Here I was thinking it's a TCR race. We're barely an hour and 40 minutes into this one now. Surely,
4.5 second stop. Definitely a splash and dash for fuel.
The cruelty of gambling on the fuel numbers there for Ray Oliver. He comes back out in 14th place and down in, well, actually all by himself on the road. Watch your leaders once again. Might want to check in on Tim Harris. Carl Sampson's gotten through on Ben Faulkner as well. That 7-8-9 battle is all kinds of crisscrossed in the past couple of laps. Now let's just see here. It was about a minute ago now that, actually probably about a minute and a half ago now that Sampson got past Faulkner. So that would have been at the end of the previous lap, if I'm not mistaken, rather than down the front stretch. As your leaders, meanwhile, up and through the Variante Alta. I have one more run through that chicane to come. Matthew Pluck gets the gap back inside 4/10. Is he close enough?
Curveball again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers are within 4x, which is a contact with another car of getting a drive-through penalty. It could happen. Someone might get a drive-through, which is a post-race drive-through penalty. It's about a 45-second time penalty if they get it on the last lap.
It is incredibly brutal if it happens. Barney gives us the white flag here for the 2-liter mini endurance at Imola. Mulqueen able to defend from a Pluck. In fact, doesn't even have to defend into Tamburello this time, so they both get through there pretty standard. But the gap, 2/10 as we start this lap between your top two. Hins within half a second, but again, hasn't really looked the man to be putting the pressure on in this race, and will probably have to keep his eyes open for a late charge from Dylan Jordan. Pluck is close, forces Mulqueen to the center of the track under brakes for Tosa. It's enough for Mulqueen to cover that one off. Gap still at that 2/10 of a marker as we come up the hill to Piratello. But again, look at this, Mulqueen already defensive. Does come back over to take the line though. A little bit later on, thinks he's got that one covered here for now. But he's having to think. Got some moves. Place the car right as down the hill we come. Final time through Accu Minerale, looking at the back of your race leader here. Pluck trying to get that car in, but not quite good. Was good through there. Hins is now as close as he's ever been. This is the chance for Thomas Hins. It'll be a send here at the very Alta, but no, not quite there. Single file through the chicane for the last time. No one gambles on an aggressive move here. Second black flag in this race for Isaac Edwards, meanwhile. Fortunately for him, has been pushing the incident limits a bit too hard, it seems, in this race. Final break zone. Ravazza 1. Mulqueen a little late for the apex, but sets up Ravazza 2 nicely. And that is job done for the 42. He will bring this field to the line as they were at the start of the lap. He put it on pole. He was pressured in the strategy, but Damon Mulqueen makes it another race win in the 2-liter here at Imola.
Great drive from him to pick up the win. It was not as easy as he would have liked. It's a brilliant drive. What a great race those guys put on between Mulqueen, Pluck, Hins and Jordan. Top four separated by 1.1 seconds at the finish line. Incredible job from all of those guys. As you said too, Isaac Edwards has received a second drive-through penalty for the incident limit. He'll get that as a post-race penalty. It will cost him about 3 positions. But everyone else that was very, very close to the incident limit somehow has not exceeded it. They'll be hoping that they don't get an incident on this cool-down lap because it will still count. But what a drive from Carl Sampson to get 7th position in the end. And well done to Tim Harris for getting so close to the front of the field. Finishes 9th after where he was after lap 1. That's incredible.
It is indeed. Paid the price for that mistake as came there off the race start and indeed able to drive back on through. The final finisher of the race is going to be Mark Noble here. Unfortunately for him, it's been a quiet one to wrap it up. But he takes his checkered flag, and I now get to see the incident points. And
it's a bit scary looking, isn't it?
Definitely a lot of drivers pushing the limits there tonight. 18 incidents for the man in second, Matthew Pluck. Just keeps enough in the bag for that one. But let's walk through the results here from the 2-liter endurance race at Imola. Damon Mulqueen, as I said there, starting from pole, but certainly had to work for it. We'll take the checkered flag and another race win here in the 2-liter category this year. Tonight, with Matthew Pluck only 3/10 back there across the line there, pressuring him all the way. The alternate strategy, we think. Hopefully we'll get a chance to confirm that with a quick chat in a couple of moments' time. But second place will be his reward for tonight's racing. Thomas Hins, maybe not quite the pace we thought for P3, but clean nose and a good patience for him in tonight, and rewards him with another podium place in this one here. Ahead of Dylan Jordan, who, well, saved after that by that safety car after the spin on the outlap from his second stop, but will be so hopefully happy with 4th place. Ewan Baker unfortunately, close to the incident limit. It was 19 incident points at the end of that one there, Jay. So has to back it off, it seems, and settle for 5th. Ben Doherty was there pressuring him at the end, but unfortunately unable to convert. Will have to stay in 6th place at the end of that one. I said there, Carl Sampson driving his car through. Yep, pardon me. Carl Sampson, unfortunately, all kinds of chaos from the start. Heavy damage. Hangs on, though, for 7th place ahead of Ben Faulkner there in 8th. Timothy Harris recovering after serving his penalty for that lap 1 chaos in 9th. And Chris Fogarty, a little bit of a quiet one for him in the 404 there, finishes in 10th place.
Brett Loxton in P11, one of the drivers that was very, very close to exceeding the incident limit right at the end. With Hayden Kirk, who did serve a drive-through penalty. Ray Oliver, that splash and dash did cost him 2 positions in the end, unfortunate for him, but finishes 13th. Isaac Edwards, post-race time penalty, finishes now 14th position after crossing the line in 12th. Mark Nova, the last finisher of the race, in 15th position, with Robert Northway unfortunately bringing out the safety car with huge damage to the front of his car after a little whoopsie through the Villeneuve chicane with Tyson Freeman. Unfortunately not able to finish the race, had to pull his car over towards the end. That was a fun one. I'll leave you to do the interviews, Dan, because you've got a couple of drivers ready for a chat. What was a fantastic race.
We do indeed, and well, who else but to start with our race winner for the event tonight here at Imola, Damon Mulqueen. Well, had to work for a Damon all race long, but able to come out on top once again. What was it like from your perspective behind the cockpit this evening out there?
Well, towards the end, very stressful. But I was a wee bit annoyed that that safety car came out, because I reckon once I broke away and did the stop, I reckon I had the pace to just sort of pull away and, make it the night a lot less stressful. But, it is what it is. That's motorsport and whatnot. I've just got to throw a quick apology to Ewan, I think it was. I'm not sure if we actually made contact or there was a bit of iRacing internetness going on, but I never felt any contact until I saw beautiful notifications that we get on our dash that I'd managed to get an off track while staying on the track. But look, it was good racing all round. Us up at the front at the start and towards the end, it's probably some of the best fun I've ever had, and probably some of the hardest work I've ever had to do in a race.
Yeah, you made a note there on strategy, and certainly coming into the pits a little bit earlier than some of the drivers you were racing at the front in that first stop. Undercut in these cars often can be a bit dicey, but looks like tonight was only about a lap and a half at most before you got the fresh tyres working for you, and then it was about 8 laps by the time Pluck and Dylan Jordan came to the pits. Really turned that back around in your favour, although you did have Ewan there, as you said, keeping you honest there in the start of that second stint.
Yeah, I took a bit of a wild stabbing guess going off the lap times in practice that starting fuels between the two, myself and potentially most of the KSR boys were different. So I knew going into the start of the race that I was going to have to work for it, and if I couldn't work for it, I would just fall in behind and just drive with, because there was a speed difference. But I knew later on, with a lighter weighted car, that this thing is a bullet. I've got to thank the guys at Synergy. They've been giving me absolute rocket Hyundais of late. And yeah, it's the series has been a whole lot of fun to do, and I'm probably my most favourite car at the moment to drive. So anytime I get to drive it, it's just awesome.
Indeed. Well, we'll see the 2 Litre Tourers back in action at the Mountain in a couple of weeks' time. We'll be reverting to, it should be the first time the 2 Litre Tourers take on the 60-kilometre sprints on the Friday night of that round. So we're seeing progressive grids for that one there. Thoughts on the combination at this stage, or that will be one you'll be checking out in a couple of weeks' time before we go racing on the 16th of September?
I have previously done some races in this car at Bathurst, and it is a ton of fun. Can be a bit follow the leader like, but that's the same with almost any sort of racing at Bathurst. I reckon it's going to be a lot of fun for everyone in the field. Going down the mountain is an absolute blast with these, and I opening few laps are going to be interesting. As we all know, these things like to understeer on the cold tyres, and it's really going to make a fair bit of fun.
Well, before we let you go, Damon, who do you want to thank tonight for the win?
Obviously, first I've just got to thank all of our sponsors, Smith & Sons. Well, here we go. I've already forgotten half of them. Hang on a second. Let me turn around and look inside the car. Smith & Sons, Posy Mechanical, EGD Customs, DO Photo, DM Cinematography. Who else we got? Aftershock PC, A Dog's Life, and to anyone else that gets it done for us, that helps out. It's greatly appreciated. And also to all the boys that were racing tonight, as I said before, that was probably some of the most fun I've had in a long time in a race. And to you guys for throwing up the broadcast. I'll assume it's going to look absolutely fantastic when I get a chance to go back and have a look. And then to
Commentary's a bit poor though.
Admin team. Well, that's all right. I can live with that. I can't do any better, so it's fine. So yeah, and yeah, just the admin team and race control and safety car drivers and all that. Cheers for the mega event.
There we are. Race winner Damon Mulqueen picking up the gold here at Imola tonight, and also, well, converted the pole position as well there, Jay. And well, he said had to work for it, but did a good job. One final driver it looks like we'll speak to tonight, the man who ended up in third place for this one, Thomas Hinz. Chatting to you for a second night in a row, Hinzy, well done. And well, qualifying pace maybe not quite there, but certainly a calm head on your shoulders, able to dodge the chaos that unfolded a little bit further up on the grid, straight off the start there. How was it like there, sort of racing with that group of cars there towards the end with all six of you at one stage?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I forgot just how bad the Civic is in a straight line. So yeah, it's interesting because at PI I didn't feel like I was too bad on the straight line, but for whatever reason here it just had no top speed at all down the main straight. So, which is obviously why a lot of people drive the Elantra, because it's got that top speed. So yeah, it was difficult, really. Qualifying was a bit more off than I was sort of expecting. So I was like, okay, this will be an interesting race. And then, yeah, obviously we had that near pile at the start. Credit to everyone for actually getting through that, to be honest, because that was very scary. But yeah, I got through it and then sort of settled into the rhythm. And yeah, had a few cars there I passed and got through them. And then I was just about matching the leaders, which I was happy with given how qualifying looked. So that was good. Then, yeah, obviously pit stop started and I think I would have looking like I was on for fourth or fifth there because I think Dylan had a slow one, and yeah, it was sort of like, well, this is going to be a bit of a lonesome run to fourth or fifth or something. And then yeah, then obviously safety car happened and spiced it up, and yeah, then that big old scrap at the end, and yeah, it was good fun. I was really just trying to stick with them, to be honest. I didn't quite have the straight line to actually do anything really, so I was just sort of sticking with them, trying to be in a good position in case they came together. That's about all I could really hope for. So I'll definitely take the podium given the pace I don't think was quite there tonight.
Fair enough indeed, yeah. Hyundai's certainly a popular pick, not just here, but in general as well. Looking forward to the next round. Obviously, head to the mountain. Going to be a busy one for you, but if I remember correctly, you'll be pulling double duty on the Friday night with flat sixes and 2-litre Touras if you're game for it. Any thoughts on the combination, at least with the TCR car here and the mountain? Will be for the 60k sprint races.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge, that's for sure. Going from total opposites, from rear drive engine on the rear axle to front wheel drive front engine. So that's going to be something. So I'll be amazed if I don't bin it. So I'll take not binning it if I do end up doing both. We'll see how I'm going and how I'm feeling. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a busy time of year at the moment. All these enduros on, obviously. I think the Invitational series has got stuff as well, and all sorts of series. So it's busy times. But still, I guess like torture himself with heaps of racing. So I'll probably end up doing both, knowing me, because that's just what I'm like. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can have a similar size field again. Hopefully the numbers can stay up for the rest of the season, because it's good to, same with obviously Flat Sixes last night, it was good to have a few more people, and a bit of a bigger field is always fun and better viewing for all, obviously. So yeah, so I hope they'll continue next round.
Well, indeed, looking forward to seeing in that case how things go for you. Before we let you go, Hinsey, who do you want to thank for the result tonight?
So I'm going to say it straight up, because Ben Christensen, cheers Ben, he desperately tried to remind me, and I didn't send a message till after I was done last night. So Jinx Shifters, Thanks, Jing Shifters. Thanks, Simon, for the sponsorship page. There you go, Ben. See, Ben, I remembered, and Henry and everybody else, I remembered this time. But yeah, thanks to obviously him and all the sponsors on the car for for all their support. And obviously, big thanks to HGR guys and all their support with just in iRacing, and obviously Henry was running the series and everything. And big thanks to and thanks to Brett as well for helping out for this one and jumping in and just being awesome as he always is. Thanks for you guys for an awesome show as well.
And Thomas Inns, P3 at the line there for the Imola 2-litre Tours 250k race. And well, that wraps up the support series coverage here from Imola. So we quickly look ahead to the next round of the V8SCOPS calendar, as we will have ourselves another 2 days of support racing action at the mountain. The flat sixes and the 2-litre Tourers will be your entertainment on the Friday night, the 16th of September. And then it will be the V8s that will get the chance to race their 250-kilometre solo mini enduro at the mountain on Saturday, the 17th of September. Of course, all preparation for the big one on Sunday, the 18th. For the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000. But before we get there, we've still got a 500-kilometre race to bring to you tomorrow afternoon to wrap things up for tonight, or this weekend, I should say. The Imola 500 plays host to the 11th round of the Virtual Racing School V8SCOPS 2022 season. And we go live at, I believe it's 1:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon, to bring you a full field shootout before we get the green flag for the 500k race. 102 laps at 3 p.m. AEST tomorrow afternoon. Well, any final words from you, Jay, before we wrap things up after what was some great racing from our front runners and up and down the field as well? Plenty of battle packs to watch across the course of those 51 laps.
Yeah, very, very fun night of racing. Obviously, last night was very, very entertaining. So I think it's shaping up to be a fun endurance campaign for both this and for the other two support categories that have enduros. Don't forget too, also next round, we'll also have the final round of the Jetta Cup as well on the Saturday night, which will be in between qualifying and the top 15 shootout for the Bathurst 1000. And the V8s will be before qualifying. So it'll be a Saturday afternoon race for the V8s, leading into qualifying, which will lead into the final round of the Jettas, which will lead into the shootout. It's going to be a huge weekend. I think we've got about 19 hours of broadcasting that weekend. It's going to be brilliant. Make sure you like and subscribe and check us out on all of our socials, because you want to be up to date with everything happening Bathurst 1000 weekend.
So in other words, my brain is going to be absolutely cooked before you can get
yours and mine.
Okay, well, we'll have Reese with us as well, so we'll share the load.
we might ring in some extras as well. We'll see what we can do.
We might need every man we can get when it comes to at least the commentary providers. Not so sure we'll have the ability to do lots of production helping hands. So unfortunately, tough luck for you, I think.
Yeah, I'll push through. I'll push through.
Well, there we are. Speaking of pushing through, SimSpeed has still got more on this weekend tomorrow morning with the iRacing Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup final qualifying round for the open event. For those who've been competing in that series for the first stage of the qualifiers, that's on at 4:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Time tomorrow morning, and that's actually here at Imola, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is Imola
broadcast. So, keeping with the theme there, and then immediately after that one, you can catch Jay and hopefully, I believe, Jake Sperry on the mic for that one, for both the Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup qualifiers, and also the iRacing Grand Prix Series continues. Unfortunately, I don't have a...
Well, it's the same schedule as the real world schedule, so it's at Spa.
That helps. That certainly helps. So there we go. We'll get a quick break from Imola this weekend with the Grand Prix Series tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Eastern Time.
Correct.
At Spa. Well, there we go. So that is a bumper Sunday to add to the weekend that has been and is yet to come here at SimSpeed TV. My name is Adam Yeaman. Jay Kennedy alongside me this evening with production and comms double duty. Hope you've enjoyed the racing here tonight in the 2-litre Tourers. And as we said, there is plenty more to come tomorrow. So hopefully we'll catch you then. Thank you all for watching tonight. Have a good one and see you next time.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.